Who's Bak? Tune in to Guess Who's Bak with Chase Geiser, only at chasegeiser.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Guess Who's Bak. I am your host this evening, Chase Geiser. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you, as is always the case. Of course, I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, Steven Bak, and we are going to be breaking down all of the latest news tonight, including RIP Lindsey Graham, the latest developments as far as it pertains to Iran, as well as a follow-up synopsis analysis of everything that we learned in the preliminary hearing of Charlie Kirk's murder/assassination, whatever you want to call it. And Lindsey Graham and I go way back. I've not been a big fan of Lindsey Graham ever, basically because he's been in love with every single war that we've ever been in, especially since the war on terror. In fact, if you look on the wall in his office, there is a piece of legislation with the pen from George W. Bush. And this legislation pertains to some law that Lindsey Graham sponsored or was a proponent of that enabled and empowered the government of the United States of America to engage in torture or enhanced interrogation techniques under the last law. This is somebody that loved the war in Afghanistan, somebody who loved the war in Iraq, somebody who loved the war in Ukraine, somebody who loved the wars with Iran, somebody who loved the Patriot Act, and basically everything that we have grown to despise about the establishment GOP. Now, I'm a right-wing person. I'm a conservative person. I believe in the Constitution. I am anything but a leftist, but something that we've come to discover over the course of the last several years especially, is that there's little difference between the establishment GOP and the leftist Democratic Party. They pass the same laws, they pass the same budgets, they act like they're opposed to one another in rhetoric only to connect, collaborate, and conspire together behind closed doors. They are all part of the same deep state apparatus controlled largely by our intelligence community. And I've seen a lot of people come out and say how poor of character one must be to celebrate the fact that Lindsey Graham is dead. And of course, I didn't want him to die. I didn't want him to have a heart attack. I didn't want him to get assassinated. I didn't want Charlie Kirk to get assassinated. I just wanted him to be eradicated from the halls of our political institutions by legitimate means which seemingly we were incapable of executing, especially given the results of the last primary election in which he won because of the support of the President of the United States as well as AIPAC. Despite the fact that there was a fairly good candidate, as I understand it, who was running against him that was not an Israel First candidate, that was not a war hawk. But Lindsey Graham, alas, was unable to be removed from the halls of power by legal political methods. And politically speaking, it's fortunate that he's no longer with us. I'm sorry that he died. I'm sorry for his loved ones, but I am celebrating the fact that this man is no longer able to hold office at the highest levels of our nation. Obviously, it's in poor taste to celebrate the death of any person, regardless of whether they're an antagonist, a protagonist, evil, or good. But it is inherently convenient that Lindsey Graham is no longer with us. And frankly, one thing that came to mind as I saw Lindsey Graham's death across my news feed was something that Elon Musk has said at least once. I believe he said it repeatedly. But when faced with questions pertaining to this technocratic push to extend the lives of the elites, this push to combat aging, conquer all disease in a way that seems like something from the movie Elysium with Matt Damon, where the elites would at least have access to this healthcare and this technology that would allow them to live decades upon decades longer than the average working class person. When Elon Musk was faced with a question about this conundrum, he said it's good that people die because it's the only way that old or bad ideas go away. And though I'm not happy that Lindsey Graham met an untimely death, he was in his early 70s, I'm not happy that he had a heart attack. I'm sure that his sister is heartbroken and his family is heartbroken, his friends are heartbroken. Elon Musk was proven right in that the only way it seems that we were able to get his political philosophy out of power in the particular seat that he filled was to see his heart stop beating. And again, I don't want to celebrate this or rub it in. And yes, I've made fun of the fact that he was obviously a closet homosexual. And yes, I've made fun of the fact that he always wanted boots on the ground. And we'll continue to make fun of him. But make no mistake, this is not a celebration of a man's death. This is a celebration of our civilization's evolution into a more enlightened political philosophy. Now, as far as the SAVE Act is concerned, one could say, oh, he was the biggest proponent along with Cotton of the SAVE Act. But we know from all analysis prior to the death of Lindsey Graham that the SAVE Act was a long shot, to say the least. Probably something that was never going to happen. And given that it was such a long shot, that it still is such a long shot, to support it is not necessarily something of consequence. Not unless there's actually a chance in hell that it passes. And so to celebrate Lindsey Graham for his support of the SAVE Act is really just an example of him exploiting the fact that something that he probably did oppose was never going to pass ever. And so he was able to feign his support for it and point the finger in another direction. But from Colombia, Darlene Graham Nordone, the younger sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham and a longtime South Carolina state official with no prior elected experience, was appointed Monday to serve out the remainder of Lindsey Graham's U.S. Senate term following his sudden death. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster named Nordone, 62, hours after President Donald Trump publicly recommended her as a tribute to the senator, who died Saturday at age 71 from an aortic dissection associated with arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Quote, I recommend to Governor Henry McMaster, Lindsey Graham's wonderful sister, Darlene, to serve as interim senator from the great state of South Carolina, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Quote, this would be a fabulous tribute to Lindsey, who loved her dearly, end quote. McMaster announced the appointment at an emotional State House news conference, describing it as a way for Nordone to continue her brother's work. Quote, Lindsey took care of his little sister and years long departed. It's my honor to ask his little sister Darlene Graham to finish his work for him now, he said. Nordone, who is expected to be sworn in Wednesday, will serve until early January 2027, when the winner of the November special election takes office. She would become South Carolina's first female senator. Lindsey has always been there for me, and now I will be there for him, Nordone said at the announcement. It is such a privilege to finish some of his important work. The appointment followed swift endorsements from Trump and Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, who praised her deep understanding of her brother's commitment to family, state, and country. Senate Majority Leader John Thune also signaled support, calling it a way to extend Graham's legacy. Nordone and Graham shared an exceptionally close relationship shaped by tragedy. Their parents, Millie Graham, who died of Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1976, and F.J. Graham, who suffered a fatal heart attack 15 months later, passed away when Graham was in college at the University of South Carolina and Nordone was just 13 years old. Graham, then 22, became her legal guardian and later formally adopted her so she could receive military benefits after he joined the Air Force. And it goes on and on and on. So here we are in a situation where this seat is finally once again contested. We've got a little bit of nepotism taking place right now. And people say that he died under mysterious circumstances. I'm going to allow Bak to get into that. It seems to me reasonable that Lindsey Graham was unhealthy, that he had this cardiovascular condition, that he truly did just coincidentally die. But we'll dive into this and unpack it. But make no mistake, I'm glad that his political philosophy no longer inhabits that Senate seat. I guess it does until January, so long as his sister maintains her hold of that seat. But it was time for us, and it is time for us to move on. And this is not just an example of one lone senator passing on. This is actually indicative of a massive trend that is happening right now within the Grand Old Party, right now within the conservative movement, where this neoconservative boomer philosophy, the Israel first philosophy, the war anytime philosophy, the America is perfect and the intelligence community is perfect and we're the good guys, so we should police the world philosophy, it's aging out. It is slowly dying itself of heart failure, all the diseases and reasons that boomers are dying and aging out and retiring. And what's going to be left is a party composed of the Fuenteses, the Ian Carrolls, the Chase Geisers, the Steven Baks, the Alex Joneses, the Harrison Smiths, the Candace Owenses, this alternative right, which has been fighting tooth and nail for a more just, more reasonable party for years and years and years. And finally, once this antiquated gerontocracy ages out, all that will be left will be this new movement. So it's up to us over the course of the next 4 to 6 to 8 years to define what the party will be so that when we have all of the power, we can execute that power as justly and reasonably as possible. Bak, what are your thoughts, man?
Pegasaurus Rex has fallen. America is now safer. Disneyland is now safer. I just had to get that out of my system. I'm going to try my best to be a mature adult and not speak ill of the dead because my mother raised me better than that. But obviously, all of us America First people, I feel comfortable speaking for all of us, are relieved that this type of warmongering philosophy has been pushed out of the halls of Congress and Senate by the Lord himself. So that's my take on that. There will be people that miss him. I'm sure he has positively impacted some lives, but he's by far, how many people went home in a casket because of this man?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot were tortured because of him. A lot of Americans were illegally spied on because of him.
How many people are missing limbs? Missing a psyche, you know? So that being said, rest in peace, Ladybug. I hope you found Jesus. And that's my take on his untimely passing.
Let's start with this clip.
Cause of death has been revealed for longtime South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who passed away at the age of 71 on July 11th, following what appeared to be a brief and sudden illness, his office confirmed. Emergency officials responded to Graham's Capitol Hill home at around 8:30 p.m. when they received a report about an individual suffering from chest pains, the Washington Post reported, citing police scanner audio. Preliminary findings by the D.C. Medical Examiner's Office determined he died of a ruptured aorta brought on by chronic heart disease, the senator's office said late Sunday. Officials performed CPR on the politician as he went into cardiac arrest nearly a half hour later and was rushed to George Washington University Hospital, according to the outlet. Senator Graham's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period, Graham's office said on X. Graham, a staunch ally of President Trump, was scheduled to appear on NBC News' Meet the Press the following morning.
Didn't make
The
it.
71-year-old had shown no signs of feeling unwell before his death, a staffer told the outlet. Speaking to NBC News, Trump revealed the final phone call he shared with Graham shortly before his death, praising his work ethic.
I got a call last night sometime at, the early evening. Said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. Had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker.
Graham had just returned to the U.S. after a trip to Ukraine, where he met with President Volodymyr Zelensky to discuss the ongoing war against Russia. Lindsey was a true defender of freedom and the values that make our world safer, Zelensky wrote on X. He visited Ukraine 10 times during the years of Russia's full-scale invasion and was here with our people when it was most needed.
What of the rumors that he died in Ukraine?
All right, my favorite part. Let's get into the conspiracies. The write-up here, let me give you a little background on this guy. We've played some of his interviews before. He's one of the main people going out and saying Iran's had nukes, already has nukes, and has had them for a long time. Larry Johnson, former CIA intelligence analyst or officer, publicly claimed that Pentagon generals were saying Graham died in Kyiv. He suggested the official timeline and location might not fit a preferred narrative, especially after Russian strikes on the facility Graham had just visited. If you saw those pictures that were floating around the media, he was holding a drone, and then allegedly the hotel that a lot of the staffers were staying at from the...
And what's the source that he may have died in Ukraine?
He's saying Pentagon generals are the source.
His direct source. Pentagon generals have reached out to him.
That's his claim.
And Zelensky is confirmed to have been in a building that was later struck.
Yes.
But Trump is saying that he spoke to him after he returned.
Well, I don't know if Zelensky was in the building at the time, but they were both meeting at the drone factory.
Right, he was at least in that building.
Correct.
During his trip, and it was later struck.
So there was a drone factory that they had both visited?
So in the event that he was killed in Ukraine in a strike, Trump is participating in the cover-up of that fact because Trump is saying that he spoke to him after he returned to the United States.
Well, it would be the whole government at large engaging in this cover-up because what would this implicate? This would implicate no one is safe in Congress, in the Senate, all the way up to the executive level.
Well, and there would be calls for direct war with Russia if Russia had, engaged in a strike that resulted in the death of a senator.
Mm-hmm. So, if we want to, should we play the clip and so we can see it in his own words?
Excuse me.
Quick shout out to Mr. C. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Explosions in Kyiv is something he's probably never heard before.
But why would they lie about that? Why would they?
Why do they lie about anything? I mean, show me, we just talked about how they're lying about the Strait of Hormuz being open.
Yeah, but that's
What's one more lie?
Yeah, but I'm saying usually there's a reason to lie. You want to lie to make it seem you're winning a war, to manipulate markets.
Yeah.
etc.
So, why you want to admit that your the number one senator proponent of Ukraine died in Ukraine in the aftermath of the Russian military strikes? Well, that doesn't fit the narrative too well. And all I can tell you is I've also heard from people who had access to the Pentagon, to generals in the command center, National Military Command Center. They were walking around talking today, saying he died in Kiev.
When did he? But when did he visit the drone factory? I'm curious. Can you tell me again?
Friday afternoon, but I don't know the time.
So if you visit Friday afternoon, so let me see. Because he might have visited. So when do you think he left Kiev to Poland?
The earliest he could have left would have been the following morning, Saturday morning. But again, why would Graham fly 20 hours, fly and take a train for 20 plus hours to do just a tour of a drone factory, and then the next morning get back up and repeat that whole 21-hour journey?
Very interesting. Now, is there this source, Jason, what's his name?
His name is Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson, excuse me. Is there anything else that he's accurately called in the past? I'm not familiar with him.
I mean, he's just started making the media rounds with the whole Iran has nukes narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first I've heard of him. We've played a couple of his clips. Now he's popping back up. Mind you, that is RT, and this is anecdotal.
Yeah,
so
why would RT want to advertise the fact that it was
I was
involved
thinking
in
the same thing. That's state-sponsored media for Russia.
Right. They don't want to advertise that.
They wouldn't.
It's possible that he was in the strike and either injured or shocked, and that he did make it back to the United States and die later.
That is a possibility, yep. I know when I went to visit that region of the world, there is no functioning airport in Ukraine. You have to take...
but I'm sure that he was flying in and out of military.
Yeah. There could be a private hangar waiting for him. I don't know. And they would make accommodations for someone of his stature.
They're not going to put him on a train for 20 hours, dude. They're not going to put him on a train. He's going to fly straight in. Zelensky's going to have a armed caravan pick him up.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be all sorts of anti-drone deterrent all along the path, everything, Can
you imagine flying him into France? Now you get on a 20-hour train, and then you got to ride by horseback the last 10 miles.
That'd be pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it's not
and
for
Lindsey Graham, being the war hawk he was, that would be an asset Ukraine would throw everything at to protect.
Yeah,
in terms of missile defense, drone defense.
Number one champion.
Yeah. That's where the money is,
I want to see this clip about Darlene Graham, who's allegedly going to be replacing Lindsey.
President Donald Trump has urged South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster to appoint Darlene Graham Norden, the sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, as the state's interim U.S. Senator.
She's 62 years old.
Trump made the recommendation after Graham died over the weekend following an emergency medical episode.
Yeah, me either.
The longtime South Carolina senator was 71 and had previously been diagnosed with arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease. In a Truth Social post, Trump called Darlene Graham Norden, quote, Lindsey's wonderful sister.
Basically, the point is she's going to be Lindsey Graham clone for the next 5 months.
Well, is that set in stone? Because that was a recommendation. It's the governor that makes the interim appointment.
Yeah, I think the governor did it.
He's already done this?
Yeah, let me verify. Please confirm whether...
Yep, I'll take this time to finish Mr. C's super chat. Sorry, I got cut off by the video. Lindsey is chilling with Glitch McConnell. Hope they brought their sunscreen.
Yeah. So, yes, Darlene Graham Norden has officially been appointed. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster announced and formalized her appointment on July 13th, 2026, that's today, to fill the U.S. Senate vacancy left by her brother Lindsey Graham's death. She will serve the remainder of the term until January 3rd of 2027. The governor's office issued a formal statement confirming the appointment under South Carolina law. Norden spoke at the State House press conference accepting the role, and she's scheduled to be sworn in on Wednesday, July 15th. So I believe it's official.
I don't know how this is allowed to happen. How you couldn't have hold a special election. Like, she has no political office experience. What? She just why don't we just throw my Asian mom in there? Not even from South Carolina. You know what I mean? What the hell's going on here with the? This is beyond nepotism, dude. Because there'd have to be some degree of experience or grooming for the job or something. This is just let's throw my nanny in there.
We'll see this clip.
for selecting me to serve the remainder of Lindsey's term. It is such an honor. Lindsey has always been there for me, and now I will be there for him. My brother was the most amazing person.
The distortion's on their end, by the way.
Leader, and just a genuinely good man. He was kind and considerate and loved by his family dearly. As I think everyone would agree, Lindsey worked harder than anyone. He worked nonstop to make our state, country, and world better. He loved his family and loved serving this state and our country. He dedicated his life to our country. It is such a privilege to get to finish some of his important work, and I promise to work hard over the next several months to support the President and carry forward the efforts of my brother on behalf of the citizens of South Carolina and the United States. I know Lindsey thought the world of his staff and colleagues, and with their support, I feel confident. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted.
And shortly before he died, he did say that if anything were to happen to him, he would want his sister to take over TPUSA.
What? Okay. I was like, dude, what?
What about BB Glazing Graham?
Oh, this is hard for me to watch, but I did it for the sake of this show. Uncle Alex played a clip of BB just glazing, vanilla glazed donut, Krispy Kreme on Lindsey Graham. He goes, oh, he went over my head.
And that tells you what kind of a person this extraordinary friend was.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham was just absolutely so incredible. Such a patriot that he insisted even beyond BB's requests to provide aid and military support and munitions to Israel.
I mean, this is a typical pawn sacrifice. You don't care about $4 billion a year in aid if you're about to merge and get all the intelligence, the weapons, everything from the U.S. military.
Yeah, and I've spoken to virtually no one. I've interacted with virtually no one. I'm sure I could find like a Ben Shapiro clip or some other Mark Levin clip that advocates for this section. It was Section 224. I think it's Section 219 right now, which is supposed to merge Israeli intelligence with U.S. intelligence. I've spoken to no one as far as the American people are concerned, or seen no one as far as the American people are concerned who supports the idea that we should be merging our intelligence apparatus formally with Israel. And yet it seems like it's going to pass with flying colors regardless. Let's watch.
Netanyahu went on Fox to eulogize Graham and said, don't worry, we don't need your money anymore. We have a new plan. Yeah, to merge with our military and say you co-own all of our weapon systems and the $1 trillion of U.S. weapons sales every year. The boldness, the arrogance of this. And again, I don't want to get rid of Israel. I don't want a river to the sea. I don't support the Islamicists, but I cannot support Israel primarying our leaders. I cannot support Israel openly bragging they basically control our foreign policy and now want domestic control, and 38 states have passed laws that if you criticize Israel, you can't have a government contract or a state job. And if you do get a job, it's a felony in Texas and a bunch of other states. The laws vary, but 38 have the laws. I mean, this is un-American stuff. This is social credit score stuff. When the Democrats do it, I'm against it. When the EU does it, when the UK does it, when Brazil does it, I'm against it. And I'm against it when Republicans are doing this.
And so obviously Lindsey Graham won his primary, I believe, against Mark Lynch. Is that correct?
Yes.
And my understanding about Mark Lynch is that he was truly an America First candidate that did not accept AIPAC money. Is that true?
I didn't dig so much into it because before I had known it, he had lost, and I didn't think he'd have much chance to win. But from what I remember hearing, just some background research here and there, he wasn't fond of AIPAC. But in terms of actually digging into if he's accepted AIPAC money, I didn't research that enough to verify.
And so now his campaign can be resurrected from the dead because there's a chance for him to win, right?
He was the only person who, I think in well over a decade, polled 29% against Lindsey Graham. That was a pretty safe Senate for him.
So confirmation here, no, Mark Lynch did not accept AIPAC money or any PAC money in his 2026 Republican primary challenge against Senator Lindsey Graham. FEC filings for Lynch's campaign show $0 in contributions from PACs, committees, or AIPAC/pro-Israel groups. His funding was almost entirely self-funded, over $5 million in candidate loans, plus modest individual donations. Lynch publicly rejected AIPAC funding on multiple occasions. In an October 2025 interview, he stated, "No AIPAC funding. AIPAC's a corrupt organization. They've been pushing LGBTQ and DEI agendas." He repeated similar rejections during the campaign, emphasizing he would not take PAC money and would work only for America First priorities. Lindsey Graham has received substantial support from pro-Israel groups over his career, roughly $1 million lifetime from AIPAC, and aligned PACs per Open Secrets and Track AIPAC tracking, which was a point of criticism from Lynch and some primary challengers. Lynch lost the June 9th, 2026 GOP primary to Graham, 29% to Graham's 57%. He has since indicated interest in future runs, but maintained his no PAC stance throughout the 2026 cycle. So now he's got a chance, I presume, to win against the Democratic opposition, right? Is there going to be another internal Republican candidate that runs?
Well, these were, I don't know when their Senate elections would happen. These were the primaries. So I've been really demoralized after Massey and after Lynch losing, after I heard that Graham retained, the primary poll position. So I stopped paying attention.
South Carolina's U.S. Senate race is now a wide open special election scramble following Senator Lindsey Graham's death on July 11, 2026. Current situation, interim appointee. We know that. Darlene's going to take over until January. In the November general election, the seat is up for a full 6-year term. The general election remains scheduled for November 3rd, 2026. Democrats have already nominated Dr. Annie Andrews, a Charleston pediatrician, who will face the Republican nominee. Because Graham had already won the GOP primary in June, South Carolina law triggers a special primary to select a new nominee. The filing period is July 21st through the 28th. Special primary is August 11th. Runoff, if needed, is August 25th. So next month, there's going to be a primary. And the winner will be certified in time for the November ballot. So this is Mark Lynch's opportunity, but they're going to try to run someone against him, whether it's Lindsey Graham's sister or somebody else.
Shout out Leroy45 Long. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Leroy says, "May he rest in pieces."
Indeed. Here's a Mark Lynch will run again clip.
Part of this race, God put this race on. He's the owner of our campaign. It's the only way we'll get America back great again, is bringing God back in his rightful position of first place. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, in Psalm 33.
Amen.
And we started this over 2 years ago. We were blessed, we were prayed over, and we jumped in. And so this is a continuance of that race with the obligation we owe to the loyal voters and the donors and the prayer warriors out there that have been praying 1.5 years while we ran this campaign. And God led this charge, and we busted through the walls of Lindsey Graham and ended up with 29%. And nobody's ever done that. And so we've been asked to keep going, and we are. So we're not.
So what's the latest with Mitch McConnell? Why does he come into the conversation?
Okay, so God works in mysterious ways. When all hope's lost, he just wants to know that you're leaning on him. That you've got your eyes to him. And I just think it's so weird that in a 1-2 punch tandem, Mitch McConnell's been hospitalized for roughly a month. His wife fled to some emergency meeting, which they said was long scheduled. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, for a philanthropic visit with the vice premier of China. Oh, you're not CCP agent at all, reporting on how Mitch is doing, your asset in Congress, one of the most powerful men in the Senate, halls of the Senate. So he got hospitalized with what was reported to be a stroke. No one's been able to really get in or out to see him, and he put out some AI slop picture, proof of life, basically, and he's hanging on for dear life until after any sort of primary or election could be done away with, And this leaves a very strange opening for Massey, potentially. Another person who got fucked out of their primary,
So if something were to happen, God forbid, to Mitch McConnell,
Franklin the Turtle,
Massey could run for the Senate instead of the House.
There would have to be a special election, correct? Which would actually put Massey in. Did
McConnell just have a primary?
I don't even think Kentucky for the Senate primary. Does
I
Senate
don't know.
even run
they
primaries?
alternate. Yeah, they run primaries. The Senate runs primaries, but they alternate. So not all the Senate races are the same cycle.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
When was Mitch McConnell's last primary? Let's look this up. I want to get to the bottom of this because it could be very interesting if all of the greatest supervillains. Okay, so Mitch McConnell's last primary election was on June 23rd, 2020. He announced in February 2025 that he would not seek an 8th term in 2026. So he did not appear on the ballot for May 19th, 2026. So he's not on the ballot. So they might appoint somebody to replace him, but there's not going to be an opportunity for Massey.
Like, what do you like? So if he died, just another.
He's done. Like, he's retiring.
Okay, and he's not going to run again, no matter what.
He didn't like win a primary like Lindsey Graham did, and then if he dies, it's an open
election. Well, he
election.
couldn't even stand to run again.
Yeah, he said he was done.
His life cycle.
He said he was going to retire earlier this year. So, I mean, God forbid something were to happen to him. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Mitch McConnell, but I don't want people to die. If something were to happen to him, like there's no opening for Massey. Not this cycle. Maybe next time.
You don't think he could run if in a special election it couldn't happen?
In 6 years, but Mitch announced that he was retiring before the primary took place in his district this year. So I don't know who the Republican candidate is in his district, but it's not Mitch.
Okay, I was under the impression if he died during his term,
if he dies during his term, they'll appoint
election.
somebody, just like they appointed for Graham, to fill his vacancy. But the primary election already took place between some other GOP candidate.
So it would just be a special appointment then at that point.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
But here's Mitch McConnell, proof of life.
Tonight, we're also getting an update on former Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell's health after being hospitalized about a month ago. Well, McConnell's office released this photo appearing to show the 84-year-old senator with today's edition of the Washington Post. Well, his office says that he suffered a fall last month that left him briefly unconscious, but doctors have ruled out any serious medical issues. He was also treated for mild pneumonia and is still in recovery. He ends by saying that he plans on finishing the remainder of his term.
There on a pillow. Now, let's keep in mind, nothing of him talking, but he does appear to be sentient, semi, or whatever. His eyes are open. That's what we know. And his wife is there by his side.
I mean,
that's all we can assess from this photo.
Right.
Is that he is alive.
I mean, maybe. I don't, like, also, it's the age of AI.
That's true.
You expect us just to accept a photo at face value? Like,
Okay, I get it. I'm sure he's alive. Whether or not he's competent is another story.
I just see an Asian woman with her pet turtle.
But this pneumonia thing is interesting because when you hear it on the surface, it sounds like, oh, he just had pneumonia, so he had to go to the hospital. But you have to keep in mind that something like 60 to 80% of elderly people who die,
they die of pneumonia, right?
Well, they don't necessarily die of it, but they also have a respiratory infection. So if you're like really old in the nursing home and you die of a stroke or heart failure or whatever, when they do the autopsy, 9 times out of 10, that person also happens to have a respiratory infection because your body's just weakened. You know what I mean? That's why there were so many people who, when they died of natural causes, they also had COVID. That just happened to be the respiratory infection that they had when they died. But when you die of old age, you're way more likely than not to have a respiratory infection at the time of your death, regardless of whether that infection is actually the cause of death.
So comorbidity, essentially.
It's a comorbidity. So like he's got pneumonia, but pneumonia might not be why he was hospitalized. He's just on his way out, happens to have a respiratory infection.
Dude, this is why we need congressional and Senate reform so fucking bad.
It's a gerontocracy.
He had a stroke
There's got to be age caps
on the fucking floor.
There's got to be age caps.
Dude, remember when he froze up and he didn't talk? And then they were like,
oh, yeah, I'll never forget it.
Senator, and he's like,
yeah, dude, it was like booting up Windows 98.
Bro, it's like booting up Windows 95, bro.
Yeah, dude. It's like,
getting
is it working?
Modem started.
Control, Alt, Delete, bro.
Dude, oh my God.
Dude, all right, let's watch this.
Love MTG.
Listen, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Mitch McConnell situation. He's been hospitalized for weeks. Other than that, we don't really know what's going on. What do you think about it?
I think it's extremely serious, and I'd like to say shame on the Republican Party for just basically staying silent while such a powerful Republican senator is basically laying in a hospital like a vegetable.
She's right.
And his wife flew to China and met with the vice president of China just days after he basically died, and they brought him back with CPR.
Just like you said.
And took him to the hospital. But you know what? It doesn't surprise me from the establishment, because this is what they support. They support people holding on to power until they're practically dead or do die in office. And this is why the state of our country is so pathetic.
So do you want Republican senators and leadership to be speaking out against this? Like, what do you want from them exactly if they don't know what's going on with him?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell had a stroke on television, I think it was last year. And that was the earliest signs. But none of these elected officials, Republican, Democrats, congressmen, senators should ever stay in office until they're ailing in health.
That's just common sense. But that's the blueprint, right? Get someone you can
and
completely control.
We bitched and moaned for years and years that Joe Biden was the president of the United States when he was clearly incapable of holding that office given the state of his cognitive function. And then when it happens to one of our senators or two of our senators, we just turn the other cheek.
Or you just, hey, I have today's paper, and my wife has been meeting with the vice president of China.
Yeah.
During this whole debacle. Make it make sense, man.
It's disgusting.
That's why we need term limits on senators. We need term limits on congressmen and women.
Not only term limits, but age limits. You shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, if they revoke your license, bro, why the hell are you going to pass laws for a whole nation?
Or just make it a law that if you can't pass the driver's license test, then you can't run for Senate. So just make them keep passing the driving test.
Or if you can't say your ABCs and touch your fingers to your nose and walk in a straight line, let's just give them a sobriety test on the House floor, on the Senate floor. Right?
Yeah. But these problems are never going to be solved legally because they're never going to vote to weaken their own hold on power.
Oh, of course not. They're never going to vote for not being able to inside trade. Oh, we'll just make it legal. We can inside trade. Don't worry about it. You didn't see shit, homie. Buy that NVIDIA.
Dude, I'm just praying that there's some peaceful way that this corruption is eradicated from our leadership.
There is no peaceful way because it's not a political solution to a spiritual problem.
But maybe when the gerontocracy ages out, there'll be some self-correction.
Dude, they just appointed Lindsey Graham in a wig with no political experience other than she may or may not have been a door knocker in the 94 campaign or something. Bro, she's totally qualified, bro. Oh my God. 100%. Should we get into how Elaine Chao's McConnell's CCP handler?
Yeah, sure.
And he's her pet turtle. You know what they do to turtles in China, right?
No.
They make soup out of it.
Makes sense because it's already in a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the things about China that doesn't bother me.
Everything's on the menu.
Turtle soup. It's already in a bowl.
Ugh.
I would eat a turtle.
Have you ever had turtle soup? I've had turtle soup once.
No. I bet you it tastes like calamari.
They didn't tell me it was turtle soup before I tried it. Let me tell you that much.
It's funny because Mitch McConnell actually looks like the turtle.
Yeah, he looks like Franklin Turtle.
He looks like the turtle from Neverending Story. Remember the giant one that he had to like tap?
No, I've never heard of Neverending Story.
You've never seen the movie Neverending Story?
No, you know what is a Neverending Story? Him and fucking Senate. That's a Neverending Story. Fucking sick of this dude.
All right, let's watch some of this Elaine Chao shit.
Right.
Elaine Chao returned to the United States from
is that
China
McConnell's
this
wife?
week
Yeah.
after her husband, Senator Mitch McConnell, was hospitalized on June 14th. A spokesperson said the trip was long planned and supported her family's philanthropic endeavors. The statement said she met with a number of people, including the U.S. ambassador.
Would you?
It also said the senator's health did not warrant an immediate return to the U.S. Chao left for China on June 12th, 2 days before McConnell was hospitalized. The Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. later released a photograph of Chao beside Chinese Vice President Han Zheng in Beijing.
Meantime, there has been criticism of Elaine Chao, McConnell's wife, who went to China and stayed overseas while the senator was hospitalized. Tonight, her spokesperson sent WHAS 11 News a statement about that, saying, quote, the secretary was on a long-planned trip to China to support her family's philanthropic endeavors. The senator's health did not warrant an immediate return to the U.S.
What's the deal with her
Elaine
sister's
Chao
mysterious
has since
death?
returned
Oh,
to
that's the next clip.
Do you know about it?
I mean, we all heard it. You didn't hear about that story? It was, I think, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Angela Chao, billionaire. I think she owned like a shipping company or something, heiress. And then she was in a Tesla where the doors locked and then the Tesla reversed into a pond. And then someone came and tried to shatter the window and she ended up drowning in the Tesla.
Oh, shit. That sounds like a hit.
Dude.
That's like everything that everyone's been critical of Tesla's about.
Yeah, remember, what was that?
By the way, if you ever get in a Tesla, Bak, so we gave one away at the Alex Jones store to a winner. You know, it was like, you know, go to the alexjonesstore.com. Every dollar you spend enters you to win 1X, 5X, 10X, 20X, this Alex Jones edition Cybertruck, right? Awesome Cybertruck. However, there were some issues with it, which we got fixed. It was under warranty. We got it all buttoned up, but it did brick out before the winter came.
What do you mean by brick out?
When a Cybertruck bricks out, that means like nothing works. You can't even turn on like the battery. You get in there, it's like a computer that's not plugged into the wall. Like you can hit on all you want, but nothing happens, right? And all of the doors and the mechanisms associated with the truck are electronic. So it took me like 15 minutes to figure out how to open the Cybertruck door manually. There is like a hidden, subtle manual latch in the event that it bricks out, so you can get out of the car if it loses electrical power for whatever reason.
Were you inside of it?
Yeah, I was inside trying to figure it out, and I closed the door. I'm like, how do I get out of this thing, right? And so if you ever get in a Tesla, make sure you know how to manually open the door before you go anywhere, because I'm sure she just didn't know how to manually open the door when it, under the water, and when you're panicked, you can't figure it out. You're not thinking straight. So that's one of the things, man. But like, that's one of the criticisms of Tesla and these electronic vehicles and this autonomous vehicle stuff, just generally speaking, is look, if China can hack our F-35s, force eject a pilot, and steal the plane with autopilot, imagine what the CIA, what Lindsey Graham or Tom Cotton's CIA can do to your Tesla or your autonomous vehicle, whether it's a Waymo or whatever. I mean, you get in that bad boy, they can lock the doors and drive you straight into a pond. Are you kidding me?
Well, we've covered how it's mandated by 2027, all of these to have AI surveillance systems. Imagine if there's a nationwide hit list.
They don't just change gears like that, dude. Somebody was controlling that car.
Oh, 100%.
If it backed into a pond?
Yeah, 100%. And if you're in politics, if you're in industry, if you've somehow developed a miraculous motor.
Crazy thing is, if it was a Honda Civic, they just would have blamed it on bad Asian driving.
Yeah. I mean, you got me there, yeah.
Okay, let's watch this clip of her mysterious death.
It can happen fast. A car crashes into water, quickly sinking. A recent victim is the sister-in-law of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, billionaire businesswoman Angela Chao, who lost her life after backing her Tesla into a pond. McConnell referenced the tragic accident in his resignation announcement last week.
We tragically lost Elaine's younger sister, Angela, just a few weeks ago.
Angela's sister is Elaine Chao, former Secretary of Transportation during the Trump administration. The billionaire shipping heiress was attempting to make a three-point turn at her ranch outside Austin, Texas, when she reportedly put her Tesla into reverse instead of drive, sending the vehicle into a pond on her property. Now, according to reports, Chao first called her friends on the phone for help, and one actually jumped into the water in an attempt to rescue her, but was unable to break the Tesla's windows.
Wow. That sounds like a hit to me.
That sounds like some House of Cards.
She couldn't roll down the window and crawl out with that tiny Asian frame.
But what? Okay, so if we go down the conspiratorial line of thinking, who
Trump,
stands
Secretary
to gain?
Of Transportation, billionaire, shipping.
Would it be a message to Elaine? Like maybe, like, hey, you're getting real comfortable in your American lifestyle here. We're going to make sure you're still with us.
So it was during the Biden administration. This is somebody who was formerly involved with transportation under the Trump administration. This is a billionaire who presumably, emphasis on presumably, has deep ties to the CCP.
Well, Elaine Chao was the transportation secretary, I believe. Not
I think it was
sister.
Angela.
Oh, it was her?
That's what I gathered from that video, but I could be way off base.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep cooking.
No, it's okay. So I don't know. Like, did she know something she wasn't supposed to know? Was she engaged in stuff with the CCP whacker because she was, going to reveal corruption? I don't know, man.
Who stands to gain? That's what,
I don't know. Depends on what she knew. I couldn't tell you, but it doesn't seem like it really happened.
Like organically, like they
Dude,
say.
You're
not that bad of an. You can't be that bad of an Asian driver.
You do a 3-point turn outside of your house over and over again, and then one day you do it wrong, you end up dying, and you got enough time to call everybody.
And someone's at the scene slamming on the window, unable to break it, dude.
Yeah, and the windows aren't rolling down, front or back, and the door's not manually opening. Weird, dude.
Weird as fuck, dude.
All right, let's keep cooking. Fang Fang?
Yep. Now we're just going to go down the line of Chinese spies.
And this is a Fox News alert, a blockbuster story happening on Capitol Hill this morning. Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell, who sits on the House Intel Committee, reportedly has ties to a Chinese spy, that alleged agent apparently trying to influence American politicians. And now Republican lawmakers are demanding answers. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Sandra, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Trace Gallagher. That report coming from Axios. Swalwell now pushing back, saying the story was released.
We know they were banging. Swalwell got busted with the hookers, man.
Yeah.
It all came out later.
He's not even a congressman anymore.
No. He just went away in shame. Is that what the next clip's about? Or is this
it was about him bitching about the whole Fang case.
Yeah, let's move through it. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Newsom China visits years ago.
This was years ago, yeah. I believe roughly around the time when he cleaned up San Francisco for Z. He's like, oh, that's what you do when a dictator comes.
Talk about the most important issue in our lives.
As he wraps up his China trip, Governor Gavin Newsom sits down with us for an exclusive interview.
Yep, he goes to China. I get it. Well, China does a lot of business with California, given the ports.
This week, we walked with
leader
Newsom
of the fourth largest economy on the
Great Hall
planet
of the People for that Xi meeting, a surreal moment. With soldiers everywhere and trumpets blaring, we entered a massive, ornate waiting room before he was summoned.
And everybody knows that Wang was charged, right? This is California Mayor Wang charged with espionage, right?
Yes. The mayor of Arcadia.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that drives me nuts about the whole Israel conversation. I believe that Israel is not really an ally of the United States of America. I believe that it totally blackmails and manipulates our political class. It funds congressional races. I believe in all of the charges against Israel in terms of its negative influence and impact on our politics here in the United States of America. However, Israel is so focused on and so obviously evil in and of itself that we disregard or we neglect the fact that there are other evil entities as well. Like the CCP is a major threat. Russia, I don't know, the extent to which Putin is evil, but that's a major player in the national security, paradigm that's taking place right now. And you got some insight, man. Tell me, because I have a tendency to like strong men. I have a tendency to like the Putins of the world, who are branded as these populists, kind of fuck you, we're going to do it the right way.
Christian nationalists.
Yeah. It's easy for me to kind of fall in line with these people, but I know that about myself, so I always do so guardedly, right? I'm not somebody who's just like celebrates Putin unashamedly, but you had some insight, because of your time in Ukraine as to some of the things that Putin's doing that don't necessarily get reported that are indicative of his character. Can you tell me what you learned?
Yeah, just to give you a little context real quick, I'm someone who was on the right wing, Trump aligned, and believed the narrative, and for a long time, almost 10 years, that Putin is the main faction fighting the globalists, and to an extent, that's true. But I believe that that's an image he's cultivated over the years to directly propagandize the right, and now I'm more of the center of that. He's acting in his own self-interest, and a lot of that is fighting the globalists, so he can keep homogeny over his own country. But ever since I seen him steal Rob Kraft's Patriot ring, and I see
what's that?
So Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, showed Putin in I believe 2002 his Patriot ring. Right,
and Putin pocketed it,
and the Putin put it on his ring finger and was like, "I could kill a man with this." And then
he said that?
Yeah. Well, that's what the cameras picked up. And then Putin's Secret Service came in and around, and he just walked and stole it. Walked away and stole it.
Did he ever get it back?
He never got it back. No. And Kraft was like, "Oh, it's okay. It's a gift. I'll get another one." Just typical pussy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a stupid story, but it shows
it's indicative of
it's indicative of your character. Yeah. So his interests are aligned in fighting the globalists as much as he can keep Russia together.
Yeah, like if some CCP hack handed me their gold medal, I wouldn't put it around my neck and walk away.
Exactly. And so I'm not so sure. And if you look at the brutal tactics being used in the Ukraine war, he doesn't want the funeral concessions going back to St. Petersburg, going to Moscow. So he's not drawing out of the elites, the oligarchs.
Because he doesn't want people in the capital to see the deaths.
Exactly. He doesn't want the more liberal wing of his media reporting on it. So they get Igor with the 80 IQ and the 2 front teeth, and they just go to the front line with 3 mags. They don't even get a resupply, dude, and no one gives a shit if they die. And a lot of the times they can't even recover the bodies, even if they wanted to. Not saying that he's that brutal and ruthless there'd be no funeral, for all these, but he's ruthless, he's cunning, and I'm not going with like the left-wing talking points too, supporting Ukraine. It's just from what I've seen of his character.
Yeah.
He's a ruthless man. He's not, I don't think he's our friend.
Well, the real threat with the CCP and with Russia is the same. There's no telling who is going to come to power after the current monarchs leave office, whether by retirement or death. And so you have these massive nuclear powers. And I think our national security apparatus is just so paranoid as to who the hell is going to have control of their nuclear arsenals after the status quo is expired, right? And that's one of the reasons why I think our national security apparatus seeks to have as much control over China and Russia as possible, to make it matter less who the leader of those nations are.
We're not the only country with the Lindsey Graham problem. If you look at who comes after Netanyahu, who comes after Putin, who comes in the line of succession after Z, if any of these men were to lose power, those are hawks behind all of them.
They're all killers, like Trump said.
They're all killers, dude. They're all hawks. So, I just trashed Putin, but he's probably gone pretty light on Ukraine. And I've been in a lot of spaces with people who think like how I used to think. He's a space Christian, but I think he's just after his own interests. But if Putin goes, and there's calls that are getting louder in Russia saying, hey, you said you were going to back up Iran we have all these mutual defense treaties. We've been drilling, our navies have been drilling together. Our militaries have been drilling together for a long time. You've done nothing but supply arms, covert action. We want boots on the ground, motherfucker. And then, okay, well, I guess your security assurances are nothing. So there's hawks in every single government. It's not just, we're not the only ones with the ladybug, infestation.
What should we get into next? I see a lot of clips here about the Houthi stuff. I don't want to linger on it too much, and I don't want to lean on these clips too much. Mm-hmm. We can play all of them if you want, Bak. But can you just give us like a verbal update as to what's going on?
We'll play one of them, and I'll give a verbal update. So cool. My firsthand analysis over the past few weeks that we will get a short-term ceasefire deal, I'm tearing that up. I was wrong, I think, because this war is expanding. Trump's demanding a 20% toll, going against even his Pentagon advisors who have publicly come out and said, no, MOU still on the table. Give it a chance. Trump came out yesterday saying, I want a 20% cut off the top, homie. And then we've been hitting, I think, 80 targets in Iran over the past 2 days, and now the war is expanding. Yemen is getting fully sucked into this, fully involved. And there's two factions. There's the official Yemeni internationally recognized government, and then there's the Houthis they've been pretty much in a civil war. So Saudi Arabia, with the backing of the official Yemeni government, hit Sana'a airport, which is like the main international airport in Yemen. In response to that, as of today, the Houthis have struck back and hit Abha airport, which is one of their Saudi Arabia's main international airports, and they're threatening to hit Jeddah City, which is like the main commerce city in Saudi Arabia. So the war is expanding, and I'm sorry, folks, my analysis was not quite there. If we do get a short-term ceasefire deal, it's going to be after many more months, because this thing's expanding. Turkey's getting sucked into it. Yemen's fully, officially sucked into it now with these hostilities. And yeah, I'm sorry.
Which clip did you want to play?
If we want to hit clip 116.
Houthi missiles now taken to the skies in direct retaliation after Saudi Arabia's reported strike on Sana'a airport, turning a single attack into a rapid and dangerous exchange of fire. After warning Riyadh that its actions would not go unanswered,
let's get into NATO
after this.
Have the Houthis
now followed through and launched retaliatory missiles, making good on a threat that Saudi Arabia may have underestimated. Reports are now claiming that 6 missiles were fired toward a Saudi airport in what appears to be a coordinated Houthi salvo designed to match the scale of the earlier Sana'a strike. Loud explosions have reportedly been heard near Obor Airport in Saudi Arabia, as early reports suggest the Houthis have chosen a tit-for-tat target for retaliation. All of this comes directly after the Houthis publicly accused Saudi Arabia of striking Sana'a airport, framing their missile launches as a justified and proportionate response to what they called an act of aggression.
Yeah, so this thing's rapidly expanding. Shout out to Honey Badger. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He says apparently there was an earthquake also in Iran while we were bombing.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense given everything that we've been saying about earthquakes.
Mm-hmm. Can someone say directed energy weapon?
Didn't I predict on the last show that there was going to be an earthquake in Iran? I'm almost positive I did. We have to look that up.
on Chase Unhinged or the episode before that?
Either that or the one before.
Probably the one before.
Yeah,
you were showing your areolas the last episode.
Yeah, dude. A magnitude 2.1 earthquake struck the Turkey-Iran border region at approximately 7:06 a.m. local time. Iran experiences frequent seismic activity due to its location on major fault lines. In the past week, there have been several minor quakes, mostly below magnitude 4.5, including a 4.5 quake on July 8th near Abdanan in Elam province. For real-time updates, reliable sources include the U.S. Geological Survey. Yeah, dude, these earthquakes are
And we didn't really get much into it last episode, but I was reporting that now a new front, an actual ground front's opened up in western Iran with the Kurds moving in, which is why you've seen Trump give Turkey the hall pass on F-35s. Hey, we'll ship them to you, to the
talking about how great Erdogan is and all that shit.
Even though Israel was protesting their asses off, like, hey, you can't do that, you can't do that. So it's the Turkeys stepped out of the way to allow the Kurds to move in.
Wasn't there thought? Weren't there people speaking out that they thought Israel was going to attack Turkey?
Well, it's not. The Israeli officials were saying first Iran, then Turkey's next.
Yeah.
But
now Turkey's our friend.
It's not that Turkey's our friend. It's a tit for tat. I give you something.
Enemy
you
of
give
our
me
enemy
something.
of our enemy is our friend.
Exactly.
Type situation.
So no one likes the Kurds like in that region.
Why not?
It's the same reason that none of the nations are taking the new wave of Palestinian refugees. They're just very, very militant. They don't have a host nation. Like the Kurds span from areas in Iran, areas in Turkey, and areas in Iraq. And they've been nationless for a very long time. But they're very militant. They have weapons caches all over the place. They actually do have the ability to go kinetic. They have the trained troops. They've been fighting multiple Middle Eastern countries trying to become independent. They carve out their own little autocratic enclaves within host nations. So every nation in the area tries to limit how much territory the Kurds have.
What's the deal with NATO ramping up for war this winter?
Yeah, so Poland's been receiving a lot of intel that Russia's planning to move into the Baltic nations. We've talked about the Suwalki Gap, which is that 60-mile corridor, which determines whoever controls it can move armored columns, troops in and out very easily. Because it's all like.
So what was a Democratic talking point years ago, justifying our endless funding for Ukraine, that Russia wanted to take Poland, now seems to be playing out?
Yeah, Russia's going to link to Kaliningrad. That's a super high-tech enclave that they have, bordering Finland, Germany. It's right on the what's not the North Sea. It's right by Sweden, Finland, Germany. It's cut off from the rest of Russia. So if you go take Ukraine, you have to move past the Baltic states to link up with Kaliningrad.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole area, whoever controls the Suwalki Gap, the Suwalki Corridor, can move their forces eastward or westward.
So it's a supply chain situation.
It's a supply chain, logistics, and they want to integrate territories that are cut off. And they're saying this could pop off as soon as winter.
NATO is preparing for a cold winter, and the Western Security Alliance is carrying out one of the biggest buildups in NATO history. Thousands of troops have been flown into the eastern flank. Finland, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania are being turned into fortresses. The most cutting-edge fighter jets have been deployed, along with heavy armored tanks, stealth frigates, special forces, and thousands of drones. NATO says it is preparing for a direct confrontation with Russia. The Western Security Alliance is certain that the Russia-Ukraine war is bound to spill over, and NATO allies are making sure they aren't caught off guard.
So what happens? What actually plays out over the next 36 months? Predict.
So you saw Finland get entry into NATO in preparation of this. All the armored emplacements, all the Dragon's Teeth, all the drone and counter-drone warfare radars and arrays are going up all along the border. Finland shares an extensive border with Russia. If you know anything about the past history of warfare, you move your armored columns when the ground freezes. So you take as much ground with infantry as you can during the summer months, and then you move your armored columns during the winter months when the ground's hard enough to support that much weight. Because right now it's hard to move armor around because there's so much mud. You get what I'm saying? Like, you might think
the same thing happened in the movie The King with Timothy Chalamet. It's a true story about a famous battle between the English and the French where when the hill was muddy, the English didn't wear any of their heavy armor, and they just slaughtered the French even though they were outnumbered because the French armored up, and they were clunky and heavy in their armor, and they were slipping all over the hill.
And they got bogged down in the mud?
Yeah, and the English just ran in it with chainmail.
Okay, so I guess this is an ancient lesson that everyone knows, you know, because infantry take and hold ground during the warmer months when it's much easier, and then the armored columns move up, and then that's how you keep the front extending during the winter months when the ground can support that much weight, that much tonnage.
Wow. So, but I mean, like, what's going to happen?
I mean, what's going to happen is
Russia actually goes to war with NATO nations, right?
If their prediction is correct, Article 5 will be triggered sometime in the winter months. Russia has already committed such a large amount of troops during the special military operation. They're going to go to full mobilization because the full might of Russia has not even been deployed yet. The Russian fighting doctrine's always been attrition. If you're going to fight offensively, you need a 3-to-1 ratio because you get torn the fuck up when you're invading a nation.
Sure.
So what you'll see is full mobilization. No more liberal warfighting policy. We don't care. We're drawing from St. Petersburg. We're drawing from Moscow. We're drawing from the big city centers, the big population centers. With a full declaration of war, Putin assumes all these different war powers. And then you'll see Article 5 triggered. Putin won't want to lose such a massive amount of human capital at the front. So I'm under the impression once Article 5's triggered, once you see the strikes all along the Russian-Finnish border, he's going to deploy neutron bombs and hit where NATO's been massing equipment in Poland. Poland will be made an example out of with Oreshniks, with all sorts of...
Do you think the United States gets involved?
This is game theory. This is the grand strategy at this point. Can we afford to get involved in a 2 to 3 front? Because this is all a domino.
Because if we get involved, that opens up the door for China to take Taiwan.
Exactly. So we have to assume a force posture where we keep something in the tank. Like, oh, you better not, dude. So if we do go to a 3-front war, you're going to see the use of tactical miniature nuclear warheads.
Sure.
It's the only way you could maintain a force posture like this. And once we go, Russia goes, there'll be some sort of, okay, guys, come on. Like, you shot a nuke, we shot a nuke, everybody shot a nuke. You got it out of your system. But you'll never go back down the escalation ladder. Once Pandora's box is open, it's, oh, whoa, what the fuck's to stop us from a second nuke?
Why would we use tactical nukes instead of just other tactical ballistics? You know what I mean? What's the military benefit of using a tactical nuke instead of tactical, like, traditional TNT?
Well, both sides would escalate to de-escalate. It would be the final step before you get these essentially city killers being deployed. Because I've done a little bit of research on nuclear doctrine, and it's actually more effective for you to shoot MIRVs, multiple reentry vehicles. Like, one big nuke can get shot down. It has a huge heat signature. You know what I mean? You don't want to put everything you have into one or two or three nuclear
strikes. Right, it's not 1945 anymore.
Exactly. It's 2026. So you would have multiple reentry vehicles, multiple tactical nuclear warheads coming out of 2 or 3 missile launches, so you get dozens of them. So it's much harder to shoot down. So it's actually more effective to use MIRVs than it is to use
what does MIRV stand for?
Multiple reentry vehicle.
Okay.
Like, so it's like,
and it could still be a nuclear warhead.
And some of them would be dummies. And some of them wouldn't, you know? So it's much harder to guess the trajectory. It's much harder to shoot them down.
So NATO's about ready to go to war with Russia. It's to be determined how involved the United States of America is. But that seems like World War III to me.
Well, yeah, we're in World War III, bro.
Yeah, but it seems like the bad part of World War III.
Oh, yeah, like the...
Right now, we're World War III vanilla. It's like World War II in 1939.
Diet Coke, World War III.
You know, like, we're not involved yet. It's kind of happening. It's probably inevitable.
You better not. Oh, we are.
Like, yeah, we're trying to work it out. Wow. So let's move on.
Yep.
Apple sues OpenAI?
Yeah.
All right, let's play the clip and talk about it.
Scam Altman.
Apple and OpenAI's AI rivalry has entered the courtroom. Here's what happened on Friday. Apple filed a sweeping trade secrets lawsuit against OpenAI, alleging it encouraged former Apple employees to bring confidential information and unreleased hardware as it ramped up its own device ambitions. Bloomberg's consumer tech and Apple managing editor Mark Gurman's with us, and throughout the weekend into today, Mark, you've written about what this means. The latest piece from you is about what it means for OpenAI's hardware rethink. What do we need to know?
Yeah, in my view, this lawsuit really will put a halt to the behavior that Apple is alleging. At least I believe that Apple employees who right now are considering job offers from OpenAI, considering applying to OpenAI, in discussions with OpenAI, they're going to think twice about it. If they don't end up going to OpenAI and anyone at Apple finds out they were considering going to OpenAI, definitely the company leadership is not going to be too pleased with them. If they do leave to OpenAI, they're going to open themselves up to all sorts of scrutiny and potentially being dragged into litigation down the road. So
So the allegation is that OpenAI has been poaching employees from Apple, and that those employees have been engaging in the trade of trade secrets.
Yeah.
And Apple's suing OpenAI over basically intellectual property theft.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're down to the hardware because OpenAI is trying to come out with their own hardware now. They're not just an AI software company
And
anymore.
have Musk and Sam Altman been sparring over this specifically, or is it just?
It's all over the Twitter sphere, the Twitter
Musk
fingers.
and Sam Altman battling on X over the weekend after Apple filed that lawsuit against OpenAI. Our Kate Rooney joins us with more, trying to track this fast-moving drama. Kate.
Carl, that's right. So this rivalry between two of the biggest CEOs in tech really did flare up again over the weekend. Elon Musk chimed in on the news Friday that Apple is suing OpenAI, alleging the AI giant stole trade secrets. Altman, as a bit of context here, paid $6.5 billion to acquire iPhone designer Johnny Ive's startup, and then a deep bench of former Apple executives along with it to build an AI device. That devices team is now at the center of what Apple says was a coordinated effort to steal intellectual property. Musk saw his opening there, chimed in with a nickname he has used before, Scam Altman. He said he might love scamming more than any human alive. That got Altman's attention. He then responded, "Homeboy, you're the one selling public market investors on short-term space data centers." These two, if you can believe it, were friends at one point. They were co-founders of OpenAI. Musk recently sued Altman and accused him of, quote, stealing a charity after the company moved away from its original nonprofit structure. That
he got off, too, because of the statute of limitations.
Yeah, I know. Courthouse
Bullshit.
where we were covering that closely. OpenAI was found not guilty.
Well, there you have it. That's typical Scam Altman bullshit. I saw a clip of Sam Altman earlier today where he said, what I have to struggle with waking up every single morning is knowing that the work that I do is geared toward eradicating people's jobs as quickly as possible. And then he just goes on and does it.
Did you see what Bezos said? He goes, if we conserve water for all these data systems, data centers, then we could potentially hold back a birthing of a super intelligence that could solve these resource problems in the first place.
So he's saying you give all the water to the AI, and then you use the AI to solve the water shortage problem.
Well, you use the AI to give birth to a super intelligence that will solve the water problem. How fucking asinine is that, dude?
Well, I mean, logically it makes sense. It just seems like the risk for such a great risk for such a great unknown outcome is obtuse.
Can we just backtrack real quick? We missed a pretty important column here. So clip 120, I'm no fan of Jeb Bush, but he's talking about how when we go to take Cuba, who's obviously the electrical grid's failing there, we've
done that on purpose. We've just weakened it. Yep.
And the trade embargo.
It's just like when you do a siege on a castle, right? You intentionally weaken everybody in the inside until it's just easy to walk in.
He's claiming that Cuba's gotten his hands on 300 Shahed drones, and they're only 90 miles off the coast of Miami.
Meanwhile, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush this week praised President Trump, despite years of public disagreements between the two. Jeb Bush said that the president rightly decimated Iran's military and drone production. Bush also warning of the dangers Iran poses to the U.S. homeland, citing reports that roughly 300 Iranian-made Shahed drones are now stationed in Cuba. 90 miles off the coast of Florida. Joining me now with the very latest breaking development. Well, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush is warning about what he says is a growing security concern just 90 miles from U.S. shores. Bush is pointing to reports that Cuba has acquired hundreds of Iranian-made attack drones. News Nation's Brooke Schaefer is in Miami with more about these drones. I mean, Brooke, where did this come from, and what more do we know about the possibility of Cuba being in possession of them?
Well, Markey, the former Florida governor, argues that Iran's expanding military relationship with Cuba deserves close.
Okay, so the angle here is that as we escalate the conflict with Iran, Iran is arming the Cubans. Cuban regime is obviously very opposed to the United States of America because of what we did in terms of cutting off all of their natural resources, embargo. Right? So then Cuba could weaponize military technology directly against the United States as a proxy for Iran, given the conflict that we're in with Iran. And it's Jeb Bush saying this is going to happen.
And it's in the soft underbelly of the United States coastline, you know?
Yeah,
so
it's 90 miles. Yeah,
they already host a shit ton of Russian and Chinese
But it also
spyware.
could just all be made up in order to justify military action.
Oh, you can't trust Jeb Bush.
Right.
You know? Who the fuck's in...
Remember Lindsey Graham? Cuba's days are numbered. Yeah. We all know whose days were really numbered.
Yeah, RP Pegasaurus. Jesus. Pegasaurus Rex.
Wow, that's wild. Can we get into a little bit of the... Charlie Kirk assassination trial stuff. I got a bunch of clips for this.
Bro, it's your show too, man.
Yeah. All right. So that's fascinating. Everybody keep your eyes on that. I want to play, this is a longer Tim Dillon clip, but I want to play this so that we have it as context for the rest of the clips surrounding the just massive infighting that's occurring as a result of the preliminary hearing. So there were 3 days of preliminary hearings for the assassination of Charlie Kirk with Tyler Robinson. The evidence was overwhelming, right? Tyler Robinson was proven to have, been on the campus. There's footage of him getting on the roof. There's allegedly footage of him getting prone. It's not high quality footage. It's from a distance, but the body that's allegedly Tyler was going prone, assembling the weapon, firing the shot, running away. Tyler Robinson's lover boy, said that Tyler confessed to him, right? I guess it's kind of hearsay, but it's direct, so it's not really hearsay. Said that Tyler confessed to him.
Discord messages, hand towels with DNA.
Right. Ugh. DNA on the gun, DNA on the towel, whatever.
Ugh.
All sorts of anomalies, though, as well, like another round found on another roof, weird discrepancies, like who was driving Tyler Robinson's car around. I think Tyler Robinson was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but I don't believe that he acted alone whatsoever. And despite the fact that, the 3-06 round or fragments of the round were found inside Charlie Kirk, allegedly, I still think that the lapel mic was involved. But let's just watch Tim Dillon do this kind of sarcastic interpretation of everything that's going on. And I think we can use that as a frame of reference as we try to dive into the details.
Kirk's trial, let's end with that. I haven't watched much of it. I'm not saying that it is incorrect.
So I'll tell you
but
what I've been hearing after.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was in a space with Baron Coleman and Diligent was hosting it, and Brandy Siciliani, who slept
and Baron
out.
Coleman, by the way, is somebody who's done a lot of reporting that has been cited by both Candace Owens and Ian Carroll. And what I've seen of his content, it's impressive and seems very earnest.
No, he's very vested in. Like, I've been watching some of his past episodes, like streams on this, and like he does a pretty good rundown, pretty thorough. And I don't know him personally, but I'm going to take him at his word.
We should have him as a guest.
There's a shit ton of inconsistencies, starting with the preliminary hearing. So we've seen Jack Posobiec and Benny come out and say those enhanced 4K footage that everyone gasped in the courtroom.
To be fair, in Jack's defense, Jack said it was the same security cam from off campus, and that it was just zoomed in to the shooter.
Okay, I didn't know if he said that secondarily.
But
I'm going off the initial videos that they gave post prelim hearing.
It's semantics, but I just want to really clarify the way that Jack framed it. He didn't frame it as like a new angle or a new piece of footage from a different device that's higher quality. He said explicitly that it was the same angle of the footage that we've seen of Tyler running off the roof. It was just zoomed in, when he was setting up and prone in firing the shot.
And this was the last episode we did when it was the last day of the preliminary hearing, I believe. And immediately after, I joined the space with Baron Coleman and Brandy Siciliani and Elizabeth Lane. And they were saying that none of that stuff happened in the courtroom, that there's a planned, coordinated media influence operation, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, to frame the narrative, because a lot of the information that the prosecution claims they had, it's being withheld, and they're framing the narrative in a way that essentially Tyler Robinson's guilty from the start, and half of the evidence that they were claiming and putting in the media and distributing, it's not nearly as solid as they claim.
Well, and my understanding is that Erica Kirk and her team have repeatedly asked for all of the evidence to be released to the public, and the judge has denied that.
Yeah, well, there was the showing of the letter, which caused a whole kerfluffle to happen in the courtroom.
Which letter?
There was a letter that wasn't supposed to be shown from Lance Twiggs, I believe, to Tyler Robinson. And they were claiming, now I don't want to attribute this to Siciliani or anyone. Someone was claiming that, like, they were conspiracy theorizing. It was shown on purpose. So all of this, so there would have to be a pause on the hearing, and then a bunch of evidence that was supposed to be shown couldn't be shown after that. And Siciliani, this was documented, slept outside the courtroom. She was there. The media tried to say Elizabeth Lane wasn't allowed to come into the courtroom and she was kicked out, when none of that happened, her own words in the space. And there's just so much conflicting evidence going back and forth now. Like, the timeline with the Discord is not rock solid. There was evidence like that video of the three men driving around in Robinson's truck after.
Right.
That's not being allowed to be shown.
The other round, who was the guy in civilian clothes with the handgun that was on the roof?
With the handgun round? Was it a rifle or handgun round that was found on the roof?
It was a rifle round found on the roof, but there was a man with the man who identified the scene of the crime, and who was unknown. Like the officer with the Australian accent or whatever was on the roof with somebody that nobody knows who that was.
Tyler Robinson's priest, the bishop guy, is making all of his videos private now, or they're taking down the former streams, so you can't go and construct a parallel timeline of what the hell they were saying and then what he was saying online in the past. And we want to play clip Ginger, Baron Coleman, Ian Carroll,
So guys,
anomalies.
I think I found even more reason why they want us to shut up about the Charlie Kirk situation and stop asking questions. Because suddenly, Charlie Kirk's pastor, Rob McCoy, is now making videos private. Meanwhile, Baron Coleman, who was digging into the spike in those Google searches about Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson months before he passed, he started looking into Rob McCoy's sermons. And guess what? He clicks one sermon, starts streaming it, and the video gets taken down midstream.
You saw?
Wow. You gotta rip that.
The video? No. You are kidding me. Do you see what I see? Ladies and gentlemen, while we're on air, they have marked the video private.
If you still think everything is a coincidence, watch what happens when Ian Carroll went live talking about that same video.
Hey everybody, good morning.
Wow, bot attack.
I'm the visiting pastor.
Do you guys see what's happening in the chat? Do you guys see what's happening in the chat right now?
I used to joke that I became a minister because I hate.
That's fucked
Everybody
up,
look at the
man.
chat. Those are all first-time Twitch chatters.
Nothing to see here.
Getting chat spammed.
Now here's what gets even weirder. Within 36 hours of Charlie Kirk's unaliving, TPUSA's Wikipedia page was quietly updated to say that Rob McCoy was the co-founder of TPUSA Faith. That line stayed up until Candace Owens pointed it out, and then it disappeared. It just feels like they're rewriting Charlie's legacy in real time. How about those messages that Turning Point USA confirmed that Candace showed, saying that Charlie Kirk was leaving their cause? The ones yelling loudest for us to move on are the ones who want us skipping over the big questions.
Wow.
Shout out Anastasia Beaverhausen for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, thank you, boys, for being a voice for goodness. Love you, y'all, and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you for the super chat.
We appreciate you. I don't know if I'm a voice for goodness. I called Lindsey Graham Pegasaurus Rex multiple times.
Man, you could have called him a lot worse.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, then here's Jack Posobiec and Megyn
with Megyn Kelly. Yeah.
The very strange reaction to your reporting.
In modern history, the murder of Charlie Kirk.
I don't want to say anything bad about Jack because he's always been very nice to me.
I just don't. Why the hell do I have to change my mind every day on this case? Because I'm a full-blown conspiracy theorist. You can't do this shit to me. And it's only happening because such a lack of transparency.
Well, and they admitted that there's no footage of the shooting.
Is there any footage of of the alleged shooting?
There is not, Judge.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
So there's testimony in the case that there's no footage of the shooting. Then everybody comes out and says they saw footage of the shooting.
And it's all big influencers, too.
Yeah, but none of it's public. So what the fuck did they see?
It's just two conflicting narratives.
Then you got the Brylan Hollyhands, and this guy was thought to be the leading candidate to replace Charlie immediately after his death.
To come back
It's just
to reality.
It's just so patronizing and condescending.
I don't know what's up with this kid's hairline.
He's just like...
It starts North Pole and goes south by southwest.
He's made in the TPUSA factory, dude.
Whoa. You see what that thing he's doing with his jaw? Shout out Deuce Fault 1776. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, don't subject...
his credit card.
Wow.
That's how they found it.
Oh, I didn't know that, dude.
As I was finishing recording
Holy
everything,
shit.
all the TPUSA influencers were filing out of court with this crazy new story about this video that they all saw at the end of the very last day, after the cameras were off, so none of us got to see it. They apparently got to see this crazy high-definition video that was zoomed in that showed Tyler Robinson taking the shot. Except there's some problems with that. It turns out that it's actually just the same video footage that we already got from the same surveillance cameras that we already saw. Same resolution and everything. They just used a video editing program to zoom in on it. So I'll let you make up your mind as to whether you think that that qualifies as 4K video that clearly shows the shot. Yeah, it's
A bullet found on another building?
I believe an unfired bullet had been found on another building at some point during my time there on September 10th.
What?
Whoa, dude. Hold up. There was an unfired bullet, not just a casing, not a spent casing, but an unfired bullet found on another rooftop on September 10th. Then the explanation of how maybe that bullet got there is given, and it's even fucking weirder.
Which building was that, sir?
I don't recall.
Was that considered a scene that was worth preserving?
It was not. My recollection is that that was accounted for as an ejected cartridge from an officer who had cycled his rifle.
The cycling of a rifle to eject a unfired rifle
Nobody
round
does that.
onto a
No
rooftop
officer
on
of the
this
law
college
would
campus
A, do that, or
scene
B,
of a
leave the
crime,
round.
and then to leave it there on the ground.
Because what if somebody else used that round later and it had the fingerprints of the officer on it? I mean, there's
so many NPCs.
Yeah.
Like, open
and then
and
you
shut
got,
case.
You got the Daily Wire with Michael Knowles coming out and saying shit
To
like
my
this.
mind, the prosecution was not nearly as successful as the defense was at weakening the conspiracy theories. Because notice, when you examine what the defense is doing, notice what the defense is not doing. The defense is not embracing any of the conspiracy theories. Isn't that weird?
Not yet,
The
but it's preliminary
group
hearings.
that has the greatest interest in getting Tyler Robinson off the hook is not embracing any of the conspiracy theories that have been promoted in the podcasts, whether we're talking about by Candace or Tucker hasn't really gone that into depth about them, but he did mention Israel or anyone else. The defense is not going into that at all. Isn't that odd? Don't you think the defense, which would like to get Tyler Robinson off the hook any way it can, if those theories were compelling at all, wouldn't the defense be embracing them? On the contrary, not only is the defense not embracing the theories, the defense, we were reminded last week, has explicitly rejected them.
So why do you think that is? That his defense isn't mentioning some of these conspiracy theories. Steakhouse. They mentioned the other
you
round.
got to get to the
but
bottom.
it's
You got to get
preliminary,
that
though.
waiter in there.
It's preliminary, though, hearings. This isn't the trial yet.
Yeah, but the concerning thing about the prelim hearing is that they're establishing timelines. This is where you decide what's going to be admissible into court or not.
And the implication, at least, though perhaps not explicitly stated, the implication from reporting like Candace's or Ian's, and maybe they have explicitly stated this, I'm not going to speak for them, is that Israel was likely involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The explanation is the incentive, which is, he was turning against Israel. He was against the war in Iran. They wanted to usher this in, so they lapel mic'd him, right? That's the implication, regardless of whether it's been explicitly stated. And we know that perhaps the most famous and vocal antagonist of Israel is Nick Fuentes. But Fuentes has maintained since the day that Charlie was assassinated, or the day after, up through today, through now, that the official narrative is in fact what really happened, right? And so I'm interested because, one would think that this would be an opportunity for Nick Fuentes to get another jab in on Israel. But I want to see what you guys think, the listeners and you, Bak, think of these two. They're a little bit longer. They're about 5 minutes each. But these two clips from Fuentes.
Can I shout out Mr. C Super Chat? Thank you, Mr. C, for the $10 super chat. He asked a very pertinent question. Why did Kash Patel say they would explore all the leads concerning the multiple Discord chats talking about Charlie getting killed up to 2 weeks prior? They never talked about it again after that. And don't forget the Twitter feeds, too.
Enemies.
So what do you think of his point that Candace is handing an easy W to the opposition?
A lot of it hinges on the timeline being correct of when the parents turned him in, which would interfere with the timeline of the Discord chats.
Some of the alleged credit card charges as well.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, why wouldn't you go after the very pertinent pieces of evidence that could completely destroy what the prosecution's timeline is? And why would you have us focus on these little chunks and bits and pieces that aren't as relevant? Like, dude, you better get to the bottom of that fucking steakhouse. When you have eyewitness testimony, essentially, like, hey, that would give Robinson an alibi, if true. Like, that's one of the first things you would suss out. Why have the parents been so bubble wrapped in this? And maybe you don't want to be the focus of a national case, like the most high profile assassination since JFK, MLK. I understand that, but we've heard nothing from the parents. Like, we haven't even heard anything from the lawyers that would be involved.
Yeah.
Like, no liaison
That's what I would
whatsoever.
do. If I was the parent of an assassin, though, I'd keep my mouth shut. What good could it possibly do to come out publicly in any way?
That's a good point, I guess. Yeah.
I'm not really blaming the parents. And I don't even really doubt that Tyler was there or that he fired a gun. It's just all of the contextual evidence surrounding the assassination of Charlie Kirk is so unexplainable, suspicious, that I just think more people were involved.
Why? I mean, no one's addressing the...
Like, I think Lee Harvey Oswald was there when JFK got shot.
The tampering of the crime scene. Digging up all that asphalt.
Yeah.
No one's interested in the surveillance camera of Tyler Robinson's truck being driven around.
The footage from behind Charlie being taken away.
The fact that his whole security team mishandled all of the evidence. You're not the fucking FBI,
Conflicting reports of what happened in the
you
vehicle.
sold off the SUV that he got transported out
and a lot of accusations have come out, too, that, it's... Ben Shapiro admitted that he had sources inside the van that were reporting to him. Bibi Netanyahu was among, if not the first world leader to know officially that Charlie Kirk had been killed. So it's
there's plenty here to.
It's very obvious that Ben Shapiro was feeding information from the car directly to Bibi.
For me, the main thing
which doesn't mean that Bibi was guilty. I'm just saying,
dude, how do you not investigate Trantifa? It's written in digital word, dude.
Yeah.
They were alluding to this. You're not even going to, we don't know if it's an airtight case. We don't know if we can get a conviction. You're not going to even fucking arrest them and question them and seize their devices so you can post together a more accurate timeline. Thank you, Deuce Fault, for the super chat. Fuentes hates Candace more than Israel. Straight jealousy. Yeah, I mean, they're all big influencers. They're all, very, very huge in the alt space, so they're going to jockey for position.
They've had a feud a rivalry forever.
I think they might get, if
married.
Candace gets divorced, they're going to get married.
But do you think it's bizarre that Ben Shapiro was among the first to know because he had people inside the van that were texting him and he was telling Bibi? Tim Pool acts like that's no big deal, saying that his team was updated. In fact, watch this.
Go public with it. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's been 6 hours, 7 hours now. Nothing. I got nothing. And I will not.
I mean, this is only happening because there's a vacuum of transparency. You should be able to put together a very straightforward timeline. Things should not be done in secrecy. You should be looking at every single angle in an investigation, not just saying, boo-hoo this and poo-poo that. We don't know if we can get a conviction. Just lay it all out for the public. So there isn't this vacuum of authoritative evidence. Like, you brought this upon yourself. Why would you allow people who are not part of the investigation to tamper with a crime scene? Why would you dig up the asphalt? Why is there such a question to the whereabouts of Tyler Robinson? Like, that should just be nailed down. You should have a motherfucking GPS tracker in his asshole, basically, bro. And timeline to timeline to time, just tell us everything that's going on. That's why everyone in the alt-right space is arguing with each other at this point. So much conflicting evidence when evidence should just stand alone to be evidence, not propaganda.
If you had to guess what happened, what would you guess?
You should not ask a conspiracy theorist that. But since you did, let me get into it. I think Tyler Robinson was a willing patsy. I think he had a lot of help. I think that this was a planned cutout operation from the start, and that he, at the very worst, was involved in this, and someone else pulled the trigger, or, God forbid, he might even be fucking innocent, dude.
What if the shape charge was made of a 30-06 round?
Who the fuck knows at this point, man? I change my mind on this almost on a daily fucking basis based on the new information that comes out. So if you had me clipped up, I would look like a schizophreniac because I'd be like, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. Like, I have no fucking idea at this point. Maybe that's where they want us, to create such a cloud of confusion over this that so many people could be made to look foolish when the verdict comes out, or maybe a key piece of evidence comes out. Shout out Mr. C, USA Patriot. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, who the fuck let someone pave over a crime scene a week later?
Agreed.
Yeah, this is happening because this is what psychotronic warfare looks like, dude.
Yeah, it doesn't add up that there was a round on the building.
If you can't stop the truth from coming out or holes being put into your case, you flood the zone with so much confusion.
It doesn't add up that other people were driving Tyler Robinson's car. The timestamps of his Discord chats and his credit card transactions don't add up with the official timeline.
And that's verified? Like that waiter said, we have his credit card?
I don't know. All I saw was the Candace clip. I mean, she could be lying, but she doesn't lie about stuff like that. She might, one could say that, look, her interpretation or her speculation is reckless, but that's a specific receipt.
And why would you come out and give an interview like that if you didn't have, if you didn't have the receipt? You're putting yourself in jeopardy, essentially.
Yeah, I think the boyfriend was saying that he regretted it because they're trying to avoid the death penalty. I think that Tyler Robinson's defense has already given up any hope of getting him acquitted, so their whole entire strategy is centered around ensuring that he doesn't get death. You can even tell by the experts that were appointed to his case. They're all death penalty experts.
Dude, he's gonna get the death penalty regardless if there is a death penalty or not. You think he's gonna survive this once he's in prison?
Well,
once they throw the book at him?
They'll put him some supermax solitary for his own safety. They'll lock him up like they did Ross Ulbricht.
Bro, they're gonna. I don't know,
they'll put him
man.
in a room by himself, dude.
This shit is so sketchy. I feel like if they do throw the book at him and he doesn't get the death penalty, you're gonna hear about a suicide or some inmate attacking him.
I'm surprised he hasn't died already.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's one of the biggest pieces of evidence that he was actually the assassin and it wasn't a patsy operation. Because he would have died. Unless they thought killing him would have resulted in even more suspicion.
No, that when you have a cutout, generally the cutout has to die at some point.
But it's happened
Dead
so
men
many
don't
times that it would just add fuel to the conspiracy fire.
Well, it's happened so many times because it has to happen. You have to tie up the loose ends.
Right.
You can't, bro. If he starts talking reckless, like, oh, I changed my mind. It was this, that, and the other. That can't.
What would you do if you were Tyler Robinson?
Probably start
It doesn't make
jaw-maxing.
sense. Why would he turn himself in and confess to the crime and then insist on going to trial? You'd think he would just agree to a guilty plea. Look, if you don't give me death penalty, I'll plead guilty. They probably would have cut that deal, put him away for, back-to-back life sentences. Why is he going to trial now? If he really did confess and turn himself in,
well, the
why
only
is he fighting
logical explanation would be
Why would you
he's
confess and
fighting
fight
for
it?
his life and wants to clear his name. That would be the only reason It doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. Did I already shout out Mr. C's super chat? Who the fuck let someone pave over a crime scene a week later? Okay.
Yeah, but thank you, Mr. C. By the way, super chats are welcome. For those of you watching on X or listening in the X space, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, like, and comment on the video. It really helps us break through the algorithm. We're trying really hard to break through there. The link to the YouTube channel is in my X bio, as well as the link to Steven Bak's X profile. We're trying to get him over 1,000 followers. We're in the late 860s. Please go follow him as well. He is in the space as a listener somewhere, I believe, but the direct link to his profile is in my bio, so you can tap there and click right over without interrupting stream at all.
Well, another day, another Tyler Robinson intrigue moment.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm one thing's for sure, regardless of whoever was responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, his death has been massively exploited by basically everyone except for the people that are taking a bunch of flack for, going out against the counter narrative. And you can argue that, Candace has benefited in terms of views because of her take. And you can argue that the only reason she has this position or this, counter narrative take is because it's so good for views and likes and clicks. But Candace has no problem getting views or likes or clicks. She was getting massive views, likes, and clicks just covering the Brigitte stuff before Charlie's assassination. Like, she doesn't have to do these things in a desperate attempt in order to get attention. That's just not a satisfying explanation for why she's covering it. I believe she's covering this the way that she's covering it because she actually believes what she's saying and what she's doing.
If you trust what your government tells you, you are an NPC. If you don't question, if you don't have a conspiratorial mind point,
Israel exploited the fuck out of it by saying he was a great friend of Israel. Andrew Colvett and others exploited the hell out of it by still going live on the Charlie Kirk show every single day from Charlie's accounts. TPUSA exploited the hell out of it by raising a ton of money. Erica Kirk exploited the hell out of it by saying the best thing you could do is go to TPUSA.com and obviously becoming the CEO of the organization. Everyone, has taken advantage of Charlie's death post facto. And I think, frankly, the lesson to be learned from his assassination is, what do we do to keep these bad actors from taking advantage of, a good man's martyrdom? And I think we have to bring down.
Charlie said it himself.
We have to bring down Erica Kirk and we have to bring down TPUSA.
Didn't he say in himself, in those text messages got published, I fear that I'm going to be targeted for I'm going to be killed soon?
Yeah, he was saying that in written texts for at least months before his death.
So we have it coming from the fucking person itself, but accept whatever the narrative is, right? Be a good little boy. Don't ever question your government. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Has the autopsy even been released to the public?
Man, I hope not, dude. That was so fucking brutal. I went and reviewed the footage again in light of everything, of course, the prelim.
It's hard to watch.
Dude, it's so hard to watch, man.
Just to see lights out like that.
Like when, I don't even want to talk about it, dude. That's fucking, does not make me feel good whatsoever. And I was never even particularly a big fan of Charlie, but no one deserves that. Goddamn ritual sacrifice. I see that you have, is this the Tim Dillon satire on Trump hoaxing his assassination?
You want me to play it?
I was watching that earlier.
What clip is it?
523.
Things like this, stuff like that happen.
He's so funny.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He's the best.
He's on a generational run.
Yeah. I endeavor to have content as good as his. I mean, it's just...
And you know what the crazy thing about Tim Dillon is? I don't run across anyone who's like, oh, I hate that guy. I think everyone just recognizes the raw talent there. The Magic Mind, Neuromint commercials and skits. Like I actually saw him live, bro, at the mothership.
How was it?
Amazing, man. I didn't get to see, I don't know if I never seen Shane Gillis live, but he's definitely he's one of the comedic geniuses of our time. He can do skits. He can do long form podcasts. He can do stand up.
Have you ever seen his stand up from before he was famous with the ice cream?
No.
Dude. Tim Dillon calling out the crowd for the different types of ice cream they like. Oh my God. Now it's time for us to just...
Yeah, are you going to pull it up? Now I have to say this.
Yeah, I think this is the bit right here, but we'll see for sure. Give me a second. It's got to load.
Honey Badger for the $5 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Mate from Valhalla VFT did good coverage of the trial last week, and Alex had him on a few times for the ballistic shit. He was a Green Beret.
He's saying it couldn't be a 30-06 probably. What I haven't heard is a sophisticated, not to say that it doesn't exist, but I haven't heard a sophisticated explanation of how MLK could be assassinated with a 30-06 and have no exit wound. I don't even know what angle or where MLK was shot. Was he shot in the head or the chest? Do you know?
I thought he was shot in the chest. The only explanation I've been able to come up with in my head was a lot of 30-06 is soft point ammunition nowadays for hunting, because that's a hunting cartridge. So soft point's made to deliver extra penetration in a bigger wound cavity. But if you have an older round, because the Mauser 98 is obviously an older sporting rifle, you know? If you have an older round, then the gunpowder in it could, I guess, be stale. And that's how you would have less penetration.
Okay. So the shooter was James Earl Ray, firing from a rooming house across the street, 200 feet or 60 meters away. Remington Game Master Model 760 pump action rifle, chambered in 30-06 Springfield. Ammunition Winchester 30-06 cartridge with 150 grain soft point hunting bullet. Single gunshot wound on the right side of the face/neck, specifically entering the right cheek area just below the jawline. It was a relatively small oval round entry consistent with a high-velocity rifle at that distance. The bullet traveled downward and leftward through the neck, severing the spinal cord, major blood vessels, including the jugular vein and subclavian artery, and fracturing the cervical vertebrae. A larger, more irregular exit wound on the left side of the neck/back, consistent with an expanding soft point bullet that had tumbled and fragmented after impact. Cause of death, massive hemorrhage and shock from the severed major vessels and spinal injury. He was pronounced dead at St. Joseph's Hospital about an hour after being shot. The bullet did not pass completely through the body in a clean line. It caused extensive internal damage and fragmentation. No other gunshot wounds were reported. So there was an exit wound.
We just got a super chat pertaining to the type of ammunition. Thank you, Mr. C, USA Patriot, for the super chat. He says this was core-locked Remington ammo. It was brand new.
Yeah, I don't think it was old.
Do we know for a fact MLK got shot with a 30-06?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's what the official report is.
Official narrative is?
Yeah.
I just don't know
There was an exit wound.
There was an exit wound.
That's what I just said, yeah. Of a fragment. It was a soft point, so it fragmented inside and one of the fragments popped out.
Dude, you use 30-06 to take down elk, to take down moose, and you use soft point. It's specifically made for over-penetration in a huge wound cavity. Blow out the back, bro. I just don't know, man. Make it make sense, bro. And if Mr. C's correct, and I don't see why he wouldn't be, if you're saying that they did verify the type of ammunition used, they didn't just generically say
30. I don't know what the grain was. What was the ammo?
Dude, there's no
used?
fucking way, bro.
Here, let's see.
There's no fucking way you would get a hung up round then. Especially something like the neck/collarbone
Okay,
area.
yes, it was the same caliber as the one used in MLK's assassination for Charlie Kirk, 30-06 Springfield. Weapon Mauser Model 98 bolt-action rifle chambered in 30-06. Remington Core LOKT, 150 grain jacketed soft point hunting rounds, common big game load. One spent casing was recovered in the rifle with 3 additional engraved unfired rounds. This is for Charlie. Single shot to the neck. The bullet struck bone, likely vertebra, fragmented inside the body, and did not produce an exit wound for Charlie, consistent with expanding soft point hunting ammunition that dumps energy rapidly on impact. This mirrors the 30-06 soft point hunting load used by James Earl Ray to kill Martin Luther King Jr. in 68. Remington Game Master rifle, Winchester 150 grain soft point. Both cases involve the same high-powered rifle cartridge designed for big game, which expands/tumbles/fragmented on impact rather than passing cleanly through. The core forensic matches the caliber and the bullet type. The specific rifles and exact circumstances differ. And of course, one of the major differences is that there was an exit wound for MLK's assassination.
450 grain, huh?
I don't think it said that anywhere.
Okay.
150 grain.
150 grain. I was going to be like, 450 grain, dude. That's a fucking really,
That's 150
really
grain. Did they even make 450?
heavy bullet. I was about to say, what the fuck?
No, 150 grain. What percentage of rounds like this result in an exit wound?
Are you grokking it?
I'm grokking it.
Shout out to Grok.
All right. There's no single fixed percentage. On deer-sized game, No exit rates are common, often 30 to 60% when bone is hit, as the bullet expands and dumps energy. Neck/spine hits frequently result in retained fragmented bullets. Military wound ballistic data from 30-06 Full Metal Jacket in World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Torso neck hits exit in the majority of cases, roughly 75 to 85%, but 15 to 25% no exit when early yaw fragmentation or bone impact occurs. So what Grok is saying here is consistent with what happened to Charlie. There's an entry wound. It fragments because it's a soft tip. The fragments hit the spine, and that prevented the exit. If the fragments had missed the spine, then there would have been an exit.
Mr.
Allegedly.
C, USA Patriot, thank you for the super chat. He's saying, yes, confirmed, Mr. Guns and Gear showed it was core locked, meaning newer ammunition.
Yeah.
All right, well, my head's spinning. Is there any more clips you want to hit before?
So it's unlikely that there wouldn't be an exit wound, but it is certainly within the realm of possibility, according to what we've just gotten from Grok. Now, I'm not a firearms expert. I'm not a ballistics expert. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell happened to Charlie. And I'm open to all explanations. I find it very hard to believe that Tyler Robinson acted alone. I find it very obvious that there's been an effort to control the narrative and exploit Charlie's assassination and death since his assassination and death. It's not unreasonable to assume that, a mentally ill, radicalized, transgender, supporting individual would do something like this. But it's also not unreasonable to assume or imagine that, either intelligence, the political establishment, Mossad, whatever, would have tremendous amount of incentive and the capabilities to, work in conjunction with like a Tyler Robinson as a patsy to ensure the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Well, we're going to conspiracize on this every day until the trial's wrapped up, and then we'll conspiracize on it some more, because that's our goddamn given right as Americans.
Amen.
Is there any more clips you want to hit until we open up spaces?
We can open up spaces. Do you want to open up spaces tonight?
Well, I see a lot of clips here. I see some interesting ones, and I like when we hit the lesser news items of the day too. It makes me really ideate.
Which ones are drawing your attention?
You have quite an interesting selection here. I feel like those book fairs that come, and then your mom gives you a 20, and you're like, oh, I'm literate. I want to pick a book out. Mm-hmm. Let's. Why do you have?
In the meantime, let's have people request to speak who want to say something in the space.
Why do you have a clip of Elliot in here?
Which clip number is it?
531. What the hell is that all about? Because I'm about to see Odyssey.
Terms of looking at nature as if it's some sort of cis heteropatriarchal structure.
Oh my God, I hate this already.
And that this
sounds like something a woman would say.
I want to hear that we've created is nothing but a quaint little myth. And I think, her work and this documentary really, really shows that what we have been taught in school in regards to these structures, men being superior, women being inferior, submissive or what have you, it being this, heterosexual existence is just completely false. And I think what's so wonderful about this documentary is it really illustrates, why that information has been so suppressed. And how important it is for us to.
I am so sorry I ever recommended. I had no clue, guys, and I am also sick to my stomach, and that is not a Greek god.
MP3, go ahead and unmute yourself and say what you got to say, buddy.
I'm so sorry for that, guys. If I had known, please forgive me.
Go ahead, MP3.
Yo, what's up, Chase? Dude, I'm starting to become a huge fan of you guys.
Thank you.
You guys, the best podcast since Duncan Trussell, in my opinion. You guys are a great combo together. I'm supporting your show all the way.
I appreciate it.
I wanted to say, nobody's talked about this, and I just wanted to touch upon it. I really feel like Tyler Robinson was caught up on something, something really illegal and embarrassing, and he got roped into this, this whole brigade. And I feel like it's the same reason why Trump became an insider with Epstein. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That Tyler was entrapped.
He was certainly in over his head. I mean, that's pretty obvious. even if he did act alone, I mean, who does something like that and then immediately regrets it and then leaves a letter under a keyboard and then confesses to their lover that they wish they hadn't done it? Like, I don't. It just does. It seems like he was pushed to do it. He was uncomfortable with it the whole time, and then when he realized that he was left to take the entire fall on his own on the other side of it, that's when he crumbled. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I have a very hard time believing that he acted alone. Who was driving his car caught in the rain can?
What you said last time you were talking about Tyler Robson about a week ago about the lab mic in his shirt in Charlie Kirk's shirt exploding, that's 100% correct. That's exactly what happened. The factory in Tennessee that makes those got blown up.
Yep.
Everybody in there died. That's exactly what the fuck happened, bro. There's no way around it. Like, there was no gunshot. It was an explosion in his shirt. That's what happened.
That's what it looks like to me.
And another particular thing too, what percentage of MK Ultra shooters are homosexual? Didn't they say Lee Harvey Oswald was a homosexual?
Well, you got to be careful because that was a very common thing for the CIA to do back then.
To discredit you?
Starting with Adolf Hitler. I mean, there were official analysis reports of Hitler saying that he was homosexual, official analysis reports of Lee Harvey Oswald saying that he was a homosexual. This is something that was often levied at communist sympathizers.
Well, we do it to everyone. Remember Motabi?
Yeah, we still
is a
do
homosexual.
But I mean, obviously,
You're gay. You're gay.
Tyler Robinson.
You're gay.
Obviously, Tyler Robinson is actually gay.
He's a bad guy and he's gay.
Yeah. And if you don't think that he did it, just look at who he's sleeping with.
That's a good point.
But yeah, you got to be. Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald. I doubt that Lee Harvey Oswald was a homosexual. I think that he was, just an MK Ultra communist sympathizer.
They're always
and
gay
I don't even
communist.
think. I don't even think he was a communist sympathizer. I think he was undercover, and then they just used him as a patsy. But what do I know? All right, we got other speakers in the space here too. TBC, go ahead and unmute yourself and say what you got to say if you're with us still.
Yeah, hey, Jason. How you doing?
Bless you.
Yeah, bless you, sir. You know what? I have a great respect for your former boss. He
Me
stays
too.
focused on the big picture, and all of this controversy is just basically a distraction from what's really taking place behind the scenes to everyone's privacy and well-being and freedoms. Now, when it comes to Tyler Robinson and Charlie Kirk, what an unfortunate situation that was.
Yep.
And I'm looking at this and I'm like, where's this young man's emotion? I mean, at least something. A little bit of hatred. I mean, I don't care if it's fuck him or something. It's got to be something. But there's nothing coming out of him on that. And another thing is, where are these TPUSA security detail individuals? I have not seen hell or high water of these guys anywhere, but they are all over the scene, picking up debris, doing just weird bodily hand signals and motions, and just very.
There was the one who appeared on Sean Ryan's podcast and is in a lawsuit against Candace Owens for defamation. But other than that, yeah, you're right.
And the last thing I wanted to bring up, if this is exactly what you guys are saying, you actually educated me a little bit about the actual ammunition used, being Remington, and I guess a brand new released product. Where are they at defending their product at? Because to a lot of hunters out there, they'd be like, well, maybe I'm not going to buy their Remington Mag Block 30-06 anymore. You see, there's so many holes in this. Nobody's making any sense, and it's just like they seem to be
Every hole except an exit wound.
That's a really fucking good point.
Yeah, but no brand wants to associate itself with an assassination. So the best way to move from a brand
just to
standpoint-
shut up about
shut
it, you
the
think?
fuck up, yeah.
Well, I would want to at least defend their brand, especially if it didn't go through.
There's no way that was one of our. Tin Man, what do you got to say, buddy?
Oh yeah, I missed a little bit of the show, but with the Lindsey Graham death and stuff, you don't think there's going to be a lot more? I mean, people dying. Like people that might have made the empire have such a bad name that everybody in the world hates the empire. I think DC, the people in DC might have done well to read like a little bit of Machiavelli. Maybe they should have read The Prince.
By the way, Tin Man's an American hero. Everybody in the space should click on his profile and follow him.
Oh yeah, thank you. But
been way too long, dude. Been way too long since we've chatted.
Yeah, I know. It's scheduling and stuff, but I'm looking at this stuff, man. I'm like, okay, well, we have an empire that's falling. Now we're gonna start seeing. I'm not saying we should do any of this. I'm just saying I'm thinking this. My speculation, I think, is what's gonna happen. We're gonna start seeing a lot of people just fall off, and they're all gonna die of heart attacks and stuff like that. Lindsey Graham, I think Russia blew him up, whether it was on purpose or accident. I think they probably killed him.
Yeah, Larry Johnson's been alluding to that. He's saying that either Lindsey got hit at the drone factory or the hotel, or he had a heart attack associated with being at the scene there.
Yeah, he heard a big boom. He was like, "Oh God,
oh no,
yeah.
Get Ladybug out of here."
The same thing happens when we're the victims of a cyber attack from the CCP. Our government always blames a solar flare.
Yeah.
They cover up for the enemy all the time if they don't want a war right away.
Well, and on the international stage, if that was the case, we would have to respond.
They certainly covered up for the CCP when they stole the F-35B.
And that would go so far up the escalation ladder at that point to have to respond tit for tat to that.
And we're not in the best shape right now to be having we can do a proxy war with Russia, but we can't do a full-on war with Russia. We're getting our asses whooped in Iran.
I think, well, this is the weird thing about Iran. So there's different conditions for victory. Iran just has to survive and close down the strait. We would have to go in with a force ratio of 3, 4, 5 to 1, utterly obliterate and dominate them. So I've been kind of forming my thesis around the United States will always maintain escalation dominance, but not strategic dominance.
100%. Mr. C, what's on your mind, buddy?
I think I'm bringing this conversation backwards, but I just wanted to say something about that whole Charlie Kirk thing. I can't believe how Kash Patel and everybody else were talking about all of the leads that they had on Discord and all of those trans Tifa folks in Utah. They're talking about him getting killed a week or two before it happened. And then he was on TV talking about how they were going to follow all those leads. It was a big uproar about it, and then it went silent. I mean, it went absolutely silent. What happened there?
It's just like everything else Kash Patel promised that he was going to look into.
Well, he said that he actually made a statement on this. He said that they didn't think they could get a conviction, quote unquote.
Yeah,
like what,
following
dude?
Leads and getting conviction. I mean, why didn't he follow?
That's what I was saying, bro.
I mean, come on, right?
I'm just so sick of Kash and his country music sensation significant other and his private jet visits to Nashville, Tennessee on her birthday. I just want him to sing me Wagon Wheel.
Yeah, but that's it. Hey, you guys are doing a great job with your show. I really love it, man.
Love you,
Keep
Mr.
up
C.
the great work.
Yeah. Thank you so much for supporting us in the super chat.
That FBI jet has more miles on it than Bonnie Blue.
All right, Goyslop, go ahead and unmute yourself. Say what you got to say, brother.
Hey, Chase, I just wanted to say I'm loving the show. I've been following you since you started on InfoWars.
Thank you, brother.
Fan. This is the modern JFK.
Shout out the super chats. Honey Badger, thank you very much for your $5 super chat. He says Nate covered the ammo on Friday. The spine is not going to stop that round. Look up the NIJ ratings for armor plate level 3 plus level 4, Bak. And then thank you, Leroy.
That's
Long.
a hard fact.
Yeah, bro. I mean,
100%,
man. Just going by the ballistic coefficient, just going by the ballistics charge just for an ethical kill for hunting makes no sense. Thank you for your super chat, Leroy Long. He says VIP daily listener at AJ Live. That said, AJ really messed up keeping Harrison for the war room instead of homie Chase. Everything happens for a reason. We appreciate your support, Leroy.
Yeah, Harrison's great.
Harrison is great. We do love him.
All right, let's see. I've got 10th in here. 10th, go ahead and unmute yourself and say what you got to say, brother.
Hey, Chase, Bak. Hey, Bak, I just did a quick investigation on your parody account. It seems like Jeb Bush is running it.
Jeb Bush is running that?
Is it 10th?
Is it you, Tim? It's that Freedom guy.
Yeah,
he has a parody account, too. I was laughing my balls off, though.
Yeah, I was laughing my ass off, too. I'll look into it, though. I'll figure out who's running that. But I just wanted to say,
on it.
It's Loomer fan
yeah,
club.
So Massey would be back in the game if McConnell is deemed either dead or if he's incapacitated prior to August 3rd per Kentucky state law, because that's the deadline. So essentially, they would have to announce a special election. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I know you guys were trying to.
So McConnell said McConnell said at the beginning of this year that he was going to retire and not seek re-election. So my understanding is that a primary already took place in his district. So check this. Mitch McConnell retired and did not run in 2026, so there was no incumbent primary in Kentucky's U.S. Senate race. Here are the May 19th, 2026 primary results for the open seat. So the Republican primary was won by Andy Barr in May. And the Democrat, Charles Booker, looks like won in May. So it's Andy Barr versus Charles Booker for McConnell's Senate seat. If McConnell retires, if he retires or something, God forbid, happens to him, there will be someone appointed to sit in his seat until the end of the term. But this election in November will be between Andy Barr and Charles Booker. I don't think Massey's got an in.
Yeah, my source on this was Alex Jones and Ivan Racklin. So I'll send you a DM regarding this information that I have.
Sure,
but
sure. I'll take a look at it.
But anyway, it's some weird state law or something like that, I guess.
Okay, interesting.
But I 100% agree. This whole Charlie Kirk thing, I think, is goose chase. You know, nothing smells right. I've stayed away from it. You know. Because nothing makes any sense. You know, it's a total goose chase, which would make sense if you're trying to move past the Epstein files. You know what I mean? You set out a whole bunch of these, right?
That's a really good point.
Okay, so here's the update. Let me give you more context. Sorry to interrupt you, but if Mitch McConnell resigned today, here's what would happen under current Kentucky law. Kentucky changed its Senate vacancy law in 2024. So the governor, Andy Beshear, a Democrat, cannot appoint a temporary replacement. This was a deliberate shift away from executive appointments. So a special election is required, dude. The governor must issue a proclamation calling a special election to fill the remainder of the term, which ends January 3rd of 2027. The winner of that special election would serve only until the new senator elected in November of 2026 is sworn in. So Kentucky law requires significant notice periods, typically 56 to 63 days for filing an election logistics. With the regular November election already scheduled, a special election could be combined or held concurrently if timing allows, but the seat would likely remain vacant for weeks or months until filled. So Kentucky would temporarily have only one U.S. senator. The special election winner and the November general election winner, likely Republican Andy Barr, given the state's strong Republican lean, would both head to Washington with the special winner serving a short lame duck period. So you're right. Technically, if McConnell quit or retired or whatever tomorrow, Massey could run in a special election. However, it would be different than the general election that takes place in November. So the maximum amount of time, according to this, that Massey would be able to serve would be until the McConnell's term ends in January of 27.
Yeah. Yeah, Ivan Racklin is trying to break into the hospital where McConnell's supposedly at. I mean, look at his
that'd be
homepage.
so fucking epic, dude.
I saw it. No, he's actually outside of the hospital trying to get proof of life. I'm not making this up. I mean, it's a video he posted. It's wild.
Wow.
That was yesterday.
Like and follow 10th Mountain Division. He puts out a lot of interesting articles, and I've been getting a lot of value from them. So
I appreciate that back.
Shout you out, brother. I gotta take this time. Thank you, Gore. Oh man, I gotta say that carefully. Gore Nerga sent party hat for 20 joules. Thank you very much, and shout out to Humble Hashmaker, probably the best hashmaker on the planet. Thank you for the super chat. He says fanny pack money. Lord knows I need another fanny pack.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, thanks for the mic, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah,
man.
appreciate you, 10th.
Wow.
What? We got a big dog in?
No, we said it. I mean, it's just, my mind's blown about how complicated this Tyler Robinson thing is.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a never ending. At this point, they're going to flood the zone. It probably is a shiny object, too. Not that it doesn't have merit to stand on its own for us to put all our attention on, but you could bro, you could milk the shit out of this till the cows come home. And we're not going to, think about the Iran war expanding. Think about the incursion into NATO and Article 5 potentially being triggered. Think about whatever the hell's going on with China, whether a deal was cut or not.
Who played him?
Wow.
I mean, either way,
What do you think?
First, I'm going to shout these out, and then I'm going to give up my context because we've been covering this for like the last 2 weeks. Thank you, Mr. CUSA Patriot, for your super chat. I had said earlier we're going to build Chase Geiser network brick by brick, and then he said brick by brick. And then thank you, Colby Upston, Colby the Cougar, another brick. So yeah, I'm so grateful to you guys. Thank you so much for helping us build this network from the ground up. We're going to grow as much as we can, as much as God allows us to. And this is how we fight back. We concentrate people. We hopefully galvanize the public. Hopefully we can make a difference and just get our voices out there. And God forbid we go into a civil war, we start stacking rice bags on a rooftop and we don't get off until we get our way or die. But speaking about being prepared to die, Trump has already said he's made a list of directions. He said,
do you think he got played by a BB on the plane? Specifically the Air Force
He's in the
One?
maximum danger zone right now by allowing Israel to bring us to war for their own agenda. Now we don't know where these assassination attempts are going to come from. Iran has legitimate pretense to carry out an assassination, God forbid, on our president at this point. Israel, we know, has a history of false flags. They're not above doing this and blaming Iran. And him buying, he keeps buying into the narrative, Iran. That gives plausible deniability to any party, for or against, whether it is Iran, whether it's Israel, whether it's our own damn deep state that does this. Now you can pre-construct a boogeyman instead of, if you had kept us out of the war, then the whole Iran angle would be quashed at that point. Why would they want to assassinate Trump? That would invite war upon them. And then we could look squarely at Israel and be like, we're squarely at our deep state. So he's really stepped in a trap. I hope he does the right thing, because he says he's left a list of instructions to bomb the ever-living shit out of Iran with everything we have, which means up to nuclear weapons, I'm sure, if he's to be taken out. And he says, I expect to be taken out. He said that at the NATO summit. I'm target number 1. I've left instructions. I'm ready to, go all the way.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
And, if he does have firsthand knowledge, he's not allowed to say it until now. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was also under the impression he didn't have firsthand knowledge. So he did, I guess, on the podcast say that he has some firsthand knowledge. Maybe I didn't catch that.
He did say it very quick.
Yeah, he said it very quick.
You know what? Edging. What edging is, of course. Yeah. That's what this feels like. It feels like BDSM level, getting your cock right on the precipice of coming and then slowing down and then edging and then slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating. When we talked about disclosure in the old days, the dream of disclosure, no one thought it would be this
pertaining to UAPs,
bureaucratic,
yes,
right,
slow fucking drip. It's so frustrating. I don't pay attention to it anymore. I mean, if they,
but isn't that if you knew anything about human psychology, and I'm sure they do, wouldn't that be the very best way to release this stuff?
Yeah.
To make it irrelevant?
Yeah.
That people don't care about it anymore because it's so boring?
Totally.
They made the most exciting thing boring.
They fucking ruined it.
They did it with bureaucracy.
They just fucking they just signal jammed it. Now it's just annoying. You
now
don't care.
I'm back in. Now I think it's real.
You do?
Because I think that's what they would do. If you did have something real and you wanted to release it.
Slow drip.
Yeah, slow drip it, and people are goofy. You just give them time and they forget or they don't care anymore.
Talk about your redactions and your fucking permissions and just cover the whole thing up in a bureaucratic web of linguistic garbage.
Yeah.
And then people just get annoyed. And when they do show up, no one's even going to care anymore.
Wouldn't you do it that way?
What do you think?
Yeah, this is the great American gooning.
Great American.
Yeah.
The gag.
100%, dude. We're going to bring you right up to the edge. We're going to let the pressure build up and then disengage. Let go of the shaft, let go of the tip, and then re-engage. Thank you, humble hash maker, brick by brick. Thank you for the super chat, sir.
Joey, we got you in the space as a speaker. You can unmute and say what you got to say.
What's up, Chase? I was wondering, what do you think the odds are that the Lindsey Graham death was not as they say it was, because he was touring that drone factory in Ukraine right before it got bombed, right?
Yeah, I would put the odds at 60% that he died of the heart condition they said that he died of. I put the odds at 40% that he either died in the attack or as a result of the attack.
Fair numbers.
You know, I'm open to either interpretation, but I just say 60-40 because I want to tell you which way I lean. You know. But
what about on Tyler Robinson? That one is 100% bullshit, right?
I think he was there. I think he had the gun. I think he may have fired the gun, but I don't believe that he acted alone, and I do believe that it was an intelligence operation and not a rogue shooter. But that's where I am now.
Sir.
All subject to change.
Thank you, sir.
What do you think?
Well, I think it was a foreign operation because
That's where I lean too.
He started criticizing the people who paid him to not criticize them.
Yeah.
They felt like it was it's like turning your back on the mob or you make a deal with the devil, you can't really renege on it.
I've been seeing a lot of the Q spaces and the Q chats going back up, and the Q angle, not that I put any stock into Q at all, especially in light of all the information that's come out around it, but the Q angle is that Trump is killing them with kindness, and that there's been a plan to get the neocons out all along, and that he's saving Israel for last, allowing Israel to be over aggressive and to spread itself thin. I don't put stock in this, but it is an interesting angle.
The trap with that kind of thinking is that whether it's Q or others, like the Daily Wire tells its listeners what its listeners want to hear. You know, the TPUSAs, the Erica Kirks, the Colvitts, they tell their listeners what they want to hear. And the Q narrative's the same way. Like, I would love for that to be true. And because I would love so much for that to be true, there's like already a Q bias where like I'm more prone to listen, you know what I mean? But I realize that inherent bias in myself because I want it to be true. And so I handicap for it. I compensate for it. And I just don't see evidence of that. It seems like they're in denial. It's like, man, so many of the Nazis thought that they could still win the war like in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
I thought it to be so weird that Netanyahu was like pushing so hard, like this is I forgot exactly what he said, but he acted offended that the internet was saying that Israel did it, and if they really didn't do it, why would he need to even why would
he was the first one to come out and say something and say how great of a friend Charlie was to Israel. Like, it's just bullshit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done an extensive investigation on Q, and so here is what they laid out. I mean, as far as Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein, who were pulling the strings back in the early days. I still, and this is where I disagree with Alex Jones. Alex Jones says it's run by the Democrats. I still say it's run by the Zionists, the elite Zionists, Epstein class. And they essentially, if you look back at it, now that we know that what's happened, they essentially gaslit the conservative movement, the patriots, and weak Christians. And they did that so they could operate in the open. So, I mean, they are obviously Epstein and Bannon were engaged in the sex trafficking and stuff like that. And there's evidence of that.
You don't think that there's a chance? You don't think there's a chance that Bannon was just trying to ingratiate himself with Epstein, and he got caught in the middle of a Machiavellian play that looked really bad?
No, not at all. Because I found a text in the Epstein files of Steve Bannon going to a Noam Chomsky dinner at the Epstein residence, and he was asked if he wanted deli or Italian, and he said yes to both.
Wow.
So, yeah, I have that. I have that that text message. So I know he was involved.
Make me a sandwich.
And he was bringing somebody named Sean, S-E-A-N. We don't know. We can speculate who that Sean was, but I've heard he's related to Hannity.
Huh. Well, this reminds me of shades of Operation Trust in Russia, where they were trying to figure out, like, you know what the old Russian saying is, if you want to control the opposition, you lead it yourself. So in Operation Trust, they used it as a psychological warfare campaign to figure out who the patriots are so they could round them up later and they could steer them into a J6-like event. But if with any PSYOP, you are going to have to provide some truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like getting a good joke, right? 75% of it's true. The other 25% is the humor part, right? It's the same thing. And 100%, what you just said, Bak, is what they did. You lead the opposition, so that way you can just call it a conspiracy theory, right? And then you could operate in the open. That's 100% what they did.
So the value from an operation like a PSYOP, like Q, would be to be able to pick out the grain of truth. Because I'm under the assumption there are multiple Qs. Just like when Anonymous was posting,
there was one Q while it was 4chan. And then it got hijacked when it switched over to 8chan.
Any anonymous type movement will always get hijacked because someone else could post your exact same type of format, style, and just hijack your whole campaign. But the things I found weird about what Q was saying was in regards to Nasara Gassara in a financial reset, because Trump had given an interview with Laura
Ingraham?
Yeah, Laura Ingraham, where he was saying that the U.S. holds, like, if you look at the history of the last maybe 5 wars the U.S. has engaged in, starting from Vietnam, we'll go into a nation, we'll collapse their economy, but we'll hold on to their currency. So whether it's Vietnamese dong or Iraqi dinar, and then when we control that country's economy and there's a reset and a revaluation to their currency, we're already holding billions of that currency and it'll appreciate to hundreds of billions, if not a trillion. So in that Ingram interview, he was talking about, and he said this himself, it was a 2017 interview, you guys can look it up. He was saying we have billions, tens of billions of dollars of Iraqi dinar in an account. And that would lead some credence to the Nasara Gassara financial reset for when the Iraqi dinar revaluates.
Yeah,
both of my parents were actually born in Iraq, and if you guys don't know, in 1972, Saddam nationalized the oil industry there, and the Iraqi dinar was 4 times more powerful than the United States dollar. Overnight, after they invaded the first time in the first Desert Storm, the currency was 3,000 times less powerful than the dollar, and they absolutely held on to it and manipulated it and profited from its its rises and its valleys and peaks.
Here's the poll that Bak just made, I think.
Iraqi spy are saying
he's going to agree to pay. I think they'll agree to pay. Otherwise, we'll stay there.
So what Nasara Gassara kind of alludes to, and I do think these are one of the grains of truth. You see the whole U.S. stablecoin system setting up right now. All of this was a longer-term plan in Trump 45, in my opinion, for the eventual collapse of the petrodollar. And if you know anything about Iraqi oil reserves, they're sitting on oil reserves that are almost as large as Saudi Arabia's. So in the event of the petrodollar collapse and the U.S. withdrawal out of the Middle East, Iraq would have to reevaluate the Iraqi dinar, which has been kept artificially low. Same thing that happened with the Vietnamese dong in the 70s. And this could be an insurance plan, in my opinion. We withdraw from the Middle East. Like, you can see the dominoes lined up. This is one of the strangest things that I've come across, and which is why I actually hold some Iraqi dinar. Not that this is investment advice. This is really just autism advice. if we are forced out of the Middle East and we can't claim a strategic victory and open up the Strait of Hormuz, and this falls into Iran's strategic control of the Strait of Hormuz and the removal of U.S. military force posture in the Middle East, we would be holding on to all this Iraqi dinar. When it reevaluates, it would reevaluate into the trillions, essentially.
Yeah, hey, Chase. I want to run through how I exposed Q real quick, if I could have just a minute.
Sure.
So I was on a space with this guy, Rubber Duck. He calls himself a decoder, so he's like one of the leaders of Q, right? And so on March 18th, Navy SEAL Carl Higbee was censored on YouTube for reporting pro Joe Kent stuff, right? So I looked into who was responsible for that, and I attribute it to Brad Parscale. So I looked at his, he's a registered foreign agent for Israel, and he had a disclosure due on the 17th of April. And so I'm just going to read the quote here. So it was filed with the DOJ 4/19/2026, budget $6 to $9 million, targeting Americans. Public opinion in the United States is influenced by repeated exposure to specific narratives. When coverage consistently highlights one aspect of the conflict while minimizing others, it shapes how viewers interpret events. It's Project Mockingbird in reverse, 100%. And so when I was talking about this guy, he just kind of went off mic, way to contribute to the space. He got all upset, and then he blocked me. And I'm like, bingo. And so that's how I know it's still being run by the Zionist Epstein class.
Fascinating.
So when they say that they're going to save Israel for last, it's a bunch of BS. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I'm with you. Well, folks, I think that's about a wrap. What do you think, Bacchus?
Let's take this time. You should handle the plug this time, and then we'll thank our panel, and then we'll queue out at
Thank
11.
him first.
Okay. Let me thank you for our esteemed panel. If you guys aren't following 10th, Joey, I don't know if Joey spoke, Rants.
Yeah, Joey spoke.
Yep. And Justin, MP3, True, Scotty D, Colby. Professor Alex is in here. I'm surprised he didn't raise his hand.
Oh, he's requested.
Lisan Al-Gaib, Appalachia, or the rest of the guys up in the panel. You guys should just all follow each other because we should support each other as a community and a nation anyways, you know? We're not here to be gatekeepers. Everyone can provide value. Everyone can bring something to the OSENT table so we can figure out the pieces of the puzzle so the puzzle masters can't trick us and keep us in this psychological cage forever, ever, ever, ever.
Okay, and then for the plug, first of all, a couple of updates just for the sake of keeping everybody informed. We are going to be launching, I believe, next week, a new format for the show where we'll actually be going live at 7 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. Central Time. The first hour will be for members only. You can become a member at chasegeiser.com. There is a free tier. The free tier has all the same access as the paid tier. The paid tiers are just voluntary if you want to keep us on the air and support the show so we can expand and grow and do more than just 3 nights a week. So there'll be a members only kind of behind the scenes from 7 to 8 before the official show begins. This is the part where Bach and I argue over which clips we want to play, what we're going to talk about. He kind of gives me an update on what he's been looking into. I give him an update on what I'm looking into. We share ideas about what we want the thumbnail to look like of the episode. This is a very casual behind the scenes kind of first hour. Then we're going to be doing the show from 8 p.m. Central to 10 p.m. Central to the public, just like you've seen. And then for the final hour of the show, it'll be again members only, but from 10 to 11 p.m. Central, it will be, that's when we're going to take the speakers and the spaces and things like that for members only. Again, you can become a member for free at chasegeiser.com. You can become a paid member on YouTube. We are also going to launch the show on Rumble in the next week as well. So it's not just YouTube and X, but Rumble will be an opportunity for everyone to view us. And Spotify, yep. And we have a Spotify account, but I'm not ready to push it yet because I need to update it with our recent episodes. But please, please, please go to chasegeiser.com and sign up as either a free member or a paid contributor. just because it's a way for us to contact you. There's a whole community hub, kind of like we built our own Discord type setup where you can chat, you can comment, you can follow other people, you can send direct messages to Bak and myself. And this protects us in the event that YouTube eventually bans us, because we'll be able to reach out and show you where the stream is. And the streams are obviously in the member portal there as well. So please support us. It means everything to us to have your support. You're the reason that we're able to do this show. We understand that not everybody's in a position to contribute financially. We thank those of you who are, because we totally depend on it. And right now we're just kind of eking by from a financial standpoint. But if you're not in a position to financially support us, the next best thing you can do is share the YouTube channel, share the YouTube feeds, share the spaces here, share everything you possibly can across your network so we can grow. Now, we are steadily growing on YouTube. We're eking up in the amount of views that we get. We're eking up in the amount of hours that are watched of our content, our live streams. We're increasing the average super chats during the episodes. It's all happening. It's happening slowly.
Membership to the channel too.
Membership to the channel, but it is happening, and it's been really, frankly, encouraging to see. Our average watch time, I think, on our live streams is like 30 minutes, which is astronomically high for anybody that's got a background in broadcasting. I think the average watch time on like Fox News is like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
so.
and when I watch the analytics from the dashboard, we have a serious core audience forming.
Mm-hmm.
Our returning viewership was up like 80% almost.
Yep. So if you know anybody who's a fan of InfoWars or my previous broadcasts, or interested in the dynamic that Steven and I have really endeavored to create a unique experience for listeners and viewers, where we want to be informative and entertaining at the same time. And I think that we have a really special dynamic that's not similar to any other broadcaster or pundit in the space. I mean, Candace is great at what Candace does, and Harrison Smith's great at what Harrison does, and Alex, of course, is the GOAT at what he does. But there's not a lot of podcasts that post regularly covering the news with a dynamic duo like Steven and I. And so we're really hoping to scale this. We're committed to this project for the next 12 to 18 months at least, but we need to see that growth. We need to hear your feedback. We need as many people to sign up as possible at chasegeiser.com. But thank you so much for joining in and all of your support. We're eternally grateful to you. Please feel free to send DMs to me or comment below or share the feed, and same with Bak. And we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Shout out to Mr. C, USA Patriot. This is the number one thing you can do, is recommend this channel, please. Thank you for your super chat. He says, share with your friends. This is the only place you're going to get punditry, analysis, racism, sexism, my dad's boat. You ain't got to swim because your dick can't float. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors. The show's rated R, NC-17, not for adults, not for kids, but for all Americans. Thank you very much, guys. Signing off.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had the honor and pleasure of working with the great Alex Jones for a number of years at InfoWars.
Do you hear what I'm telling you? Do you hear me? Burning too good for you. Killing's too good for you.
As you know, InfoWars was shut down just a number of weeks ago, and in response to that shutdown, I decided to launch my own network to stay in the fight. I launched Chase Geiser Network at chasegeiser.com for the purpose of staying in the information war, because despite whatever they may do to InfoWars, the information war has just begun. In fact, it's escalating to a point beyond any point we've seen throughout our entire history as human beings walking on the face of this planet. With artificial intelligence ramping up, deep state data centers being built all over our nation, as well as this conflict with China in the AI arms race that's taking place right now, things are about ready to get really, really sketchy in terms of psychological operations, propaganda efforts, Mockingbird-esque efforts only powered by artificial intelligence, so that we see corruption in a way that we've never seen before. I'm calling upon all of you to subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@ChaseGeiserNetwork. You can also get a link to it in my bio on X at @RealChaseGeiser. But most importantly, if you could, find it in your heart to go to chasegeiser.com. That's ChaseGeiser.com. And sign up as a foundational member. Cancel anytime. We're going to be streaming several times a week for several hours each time, and ramping up the amount of content that we're creating to daily content, special reports. Now, if you go to chasegeiser.com and you sign up as a foundational member, you will have access to an exclusive community, direct contact with myself and my other hosts as well, and you'll be keeping us in the information war in this fight as it escalates. This fight is ultimately about
defeating and overcoming evil which loves to lie and engage in deception. And we see that this administration is not everything that we hoped that it would be. And I'm very concerned that the future for the United States of America is in dire straits. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come together, and instead of relying on one strong leader or somebody who seems to advocate for all of our specific wants and needs, we're going to have to come together as info warriors, support each other, and ensure that the truth is broadcast like never before.